Call to order the full City Council meeting for June 20th, 2023. The clerk will call the roll for attendance.
Anderson Burgos. Bartley. Givner. Here. Jordan.
Here.
Maldonado Velez.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Here.
Coelho.
Here.
Israel Rivera.
Here.
Jenny Rivera.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America. In the city of Holyoke.
And the City Council.
Before we get started, just a couple housekeeping. One, for voting purposes, the name that was pulled tonight is Councilor Maldonado Velez, so he'll go first. Nice. Welcome to the midnight meeting. Seeing how finance took up 100 issues, but no.
You're welcome.
Just kidding. Thank you. But in all seriousness, before we get started, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence. Councilor Bartley is not here, but as we all know, Councilor Bartley's dad passed away. And next time he is in here, I'm going to turn it over to him to recognize his dad. But I just asked for a moment of silence for Councilor Bartley and his family, and for Mr. Bartley Sr. Thank you. Also, I'd like to turn over to now Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Councilor, Mr. President. I would like to invite in the Transition Academy folks, as well as Juan Montano from Fiesta Cafe.
I think they ran away.
I don't know. I think they're shy. I think they're shy.
You want to, Councilor Rivera, do you want to open the gate and escort them in? Come on up this way. Good to see you, sir. Come on up.
You take a few on this side, too.
We always get forgotten. I know.
Come on up.
So before we begin, real quick, I guess I'll say some of the staff from the Transitions Academy reached out to me to recognize Juan Montano, the owner of or manager of Fiesta Cafe, for some of the work he's been doing in collaboration with Transition Academy. And I'll hand it over to Todd, who then will hand it over to Kelsey, who is a manager within the program, I believe. So thank you guys, and thank you everyone for voting unanimously on this proclamation. Totally appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and good evening, everyone. The City Council did vote to give a proclamation to Juan for his service to the city as well as to the Academy. So on behalf of the full City Council, we extend our congratulations to you, Juan, being recognized for your dedication and work with the Holyoke Transition Academy and recognition of the Fiesta Cafe, signed by myself, the city clerk, for, it says June 6th, but we were proactive here, so we were very active, even though it's June 20th. But we want to thank you for everything that you do, and we can't, it's a little token to say we see it, we recognize it, and we're very grateful for it. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey Brusso, and I'm the director of the Transitions Academy. I have with me today my lovely job coaches, Diana Pagan and Olga Lopez. And I also have my amazing transition students. I have Samantha Nadeau. Want to raise your hand Samantha. I have Haiti Hernandez. I have Jaden Rivera. Hannah Angelini. I have Eric Lukomsky. I have Jeremy Gonzalez. and Miss Ari Burks. And the reason why we came here today is obviously to recognize Juan and for his service to our program. So I want to explain a little bit about what we do at Transitions Academy. We work with students who are 18 to 22 years old once they graduate high school and prepare them for adult life, whether it's working, living, playing in the community, and really just getting them to realize and learn how to be a active member of their community, with a large focus of vocational programming. So we have a lot of community members, specifically in Holyoke, where we partner with them to provide our students with work-based learning experiences. Some of them being Kate's Kitchen, the Print Shop, some of our district schools, the Children's Museum, and most recently, one of our newest and most valued partnerships is now with Fiesta Cafe. Jasmine, one of our job coaches, is a family friend, and said to me one day, Juan is really, he owns Fiesta Cafe. It's a restaurant. It would be great if we could partner with him. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm looking for, any type of experience for our students to get some restaurant hands-on food prep experience. And enter Juan. And not only has he provided such a wonderful work-based learning experience for our students, every single day our adults go there, he gives them lunch, and I'll admit some of them love going there because the food is just amazing. So I do have to note that. And most recently, he hosted our end of the year spring fling, which was unbelievable. We've been wanting to have a community end of the year dance for a long time now, since COVID, and at the end of it, I texted Juan and I said, thank you so much for such an amazing day. And he said, I commit to doing that. I'm going to hold you to it. But this is how amazing of a guy he is and how much he's giving back to our community. He says, I commit to hosting that every day for the rest of every year for the rest of my life. So Juan, you are amazing. Thank you so much for giving our students such a wonderful work-based learning experience. The job skills that they're able to acquire in your restaurant is just unbelievable. So thank you so much. We have something else here. If you can see, we're all wearing our t-shirts. Ari, if you want to give that to him. And we're chameleons because our students adapt to their environment. So,
I just want to say thank you, everybody, especially all my kids, because I love them all. They just got a pure heart, and I don't do it for this. I mean, I appreciate you guys, doing this for me, but I do it for them. I do it. They're beautiful heart, and that's it. Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
They don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. Oh, well. Thank you. Yeah, good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, so
Yeah. Yeah, hold on to that. Yeah.
Let that carry 52 finance.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn, is that what you said? No, I'm like, All right, so with that, we'll move on to items laid on the table. 1, 2, anything?
No, we're almost, we're getting there on those two.
Okay.
So,
So next is, let me just get stuff in order here.
what do we got, public comment next?
Comment. We have 4 people signed up for here. We'll find out online in a minute. For those who are signed up for public comment, just as a reminder, it's a minute and a half, around a minute time. I'll just wave at you, say hi, just give you a heads up, and then when the time is up, I'll say our time is up. State your full name, address, and we'll turn from there. First up is Chuck from Northampton Street. Just make sure the microphone's on. Just give it a tap. If not, there's a switch on the side. So this on the side. No, there's a switch there. There you go.
There you go.
Turn it over to you, sir.
Hi, my name is Chuck Halleck, and I lived at 1732 Northampton Street for the past 60 years. In December of 22, renovations began at BHN's vacant Northampton Street property. So curious, I walked over and asked one of the workers what was moving in. He informed me that it was going to be a medical facility for 5 residents. I immediately called the planning board and they denied that this type of inpatient facility would be done with the building in its current status. Actually, over the past 6 months, they denied this residential possibility 4 times to me. In April, I found on BHN's website that they were starting a PACT facility. A PACT facility is defined as a model for individuals with serious illness who have current criminal justice involvement or a history of repetitive criminal justice involvement. City councilors, it is your responsibility to keep Holyoke residents and especially its children safe. We as citizens should be informed and have a say to what type of residential medical facility will be located in our neighborhood. In 60 years at my address, I've only been notified twice, and it's been about fencing at BHN. When it pertains to the important things, when it comes to the safety of our
1 minute.
neighborhood, why are citizens left in the dark without a voice? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Steve.
Steve Superba, 17 Glen Street. In February of this year, the police risk analysis report was released. It confirmed my concerns and went further by unequivocally defining the problem of the department as the lack of leadership, all attributable to the mismanagement of Chief Pratt. Chief Pratt's response to the release of this report, both orally and in writing and in summary letter, is to dispense disinformation. And I emphasize disinformation. It is memorialized in his summary letter. Paragraph 2 and 3 are patently false. Imagine my displeasure when I hear 2 senior, well-respected city councilors demonstrate their credulity and speak glowingly of Chief Pratt and his staff during the May 16th council meeting using the adjectives transparent and forthcoming. Disappointment, frustration, but most notably confusion, which is exacerbated when later in the same meeting, the same city councilor laments the lack of a traffic squad in response to the numerous requests of constituents for amelioration of unsafe conditions in their neighborhoods. There are none so blind as those
1
who will
minute.
not see. The City Council, at the release of the risk analysis report, requested a special meeting with the mayor as a way to further review the report and recommendations and as a conduit to transparency of the process. That was rebuffed, and we have not heard anything from the mayor's office. What we have heard since then is that a recently promoted police captain has been accused of unethical and probably criminal conduct. What reason is this department untouchable? This
We
lack
are
of
at
response
time.
related to the police risk analysis report is inexplicable, but more importantly, it is highly concerning. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Laura.
Hi, my name is Laura O'Neill. I live at 346 Sargent Street. I'm also here for the 1727 Northampton Street facility. There was a special hearing to install a 6-foot-high, 3-sided privacy fence. This proposed fence was for the front yard to provide privacy for participants of the program and staff as well as the neighbors. I guess my concern is that the fence isn't going on the front yard. And then I don't think it's three-sided from talking with the crew at the location. And was there an approval process to change the BHN existing outpatient clinic to the residential care center? What department and persons here at the city approved the residential care center? And why weren't the residents of the neighborhood notified of this facility? And my last note is, if a citizen calls or emails the officials at the city, what is the city's practice of time to get back to people? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ruth.
Good evening, Ruth Garcia, 253 Essex Street. This is based on conversations I've had with residents on the CPA ballot. Everybody's unaware that I spoke to. It says on CPA ballot question, after a decision was made, anything that stops on residents of knowing or more so voting in issues like this should be not allowed.
Anyone online? 2 online. Victor Machado online. Victor?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity again. My name is Victor Machado from 42 Oak Street, and I would like to talk more about the question that we should be in place on this coming election day. And also, this question is so important for our citizens. And I think like the body of City Council already, you took a decision in that, and the mayor veto doesn't have the power to veto this unanimous decision from the City Council. And I would like to recommend to explain to the citizens about this question, because we have been working hard in the community to explain to them about it, and many of them, they agree this question should be put in place on this coming election day. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Rosenbush.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Steve Rosenbush, 1155 Northampton Street. I'm speaking today in favor of our putting the CPA referendum on the ballot as quickly as possible, because these are tough economic times. As I walk around my neighborhood and talk to people, people are suffering. And I do not think anyone in the administration has the wisdom to know, as well as the individual families, how best to spend their money. And I'll just give you one example. Last week, I was talking to a man who I had just met, George Jagdodowski. He is 77 years old. He was shot 4 times in Vietnam, and he still takes medication to treat pain and other problems. He told me that over the last 3 years, the cost of his medication increased in cost by $100 in the last 3 years. So that's the point. 5 years ago,
1 minute.
5 years ago, when we approved the CPA, we were getting 50 cents on the dollar from the state. Today, it's 11 cents. I think that's a very, very strange kind of contract, that one side can change the terms and the contract remains in effect. I think we should have a third option to vote on, and that is to suspend the CPA entirely for 2 years until the 2024 election.
We are at our time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And that is it for public comment. Next would be item 3, which is the minutes for May 2nd, 2023.
Motion to receive.
Motion receive and adopt the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4 is Warning Act notice of planning plant closing. Motion be receive.
Receive, refer a copy to the law department in the event that there's any action this council is required to do, or if the city's required to take, have any public hearing, or there's any requirement. I'm assuming they would have some duty, but we did give them a permit, Mr. President, so there may be some action. And the other thing I'm wondering, hand in hand with this, is there going to be we need to have some form of communication perhaps from the law department to them to say, are you now seeking the revocation of your permit, right? Because if you're closing, I'm assuming that there's going to be a revocation request at some point, right? Yep. I would assume so.
So motion be receive.
We need to find out.
Refer to legal with a follow-up as to if there's any further action that we need because we granted the special permit.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
All those opposed? 5 is Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners final grant report.
Receive.
Motion is receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 6 is a petition requesting a zone change for 549 to 551 South Bridge Street from DR to BC.
Ordinance.
Ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? President's report. Just quickly, we did do the announcement for the ARPA fund grant, the mayor and I. That has been recorded. It was down at Hoyok Media. A very beautiful facility. If you haven't seen it yet, please go check that out. Scott will give you a tour. But we did announce the funds that would be allocated out, and there's a reserve or a holdback, as we'll call it, just in case to deal with some of the other ones that were missed. As was mentioned, the amount of work that went in there by Alicia and her team, and this group as well, and the citizens was absolutely outstanding. But one thing is clear, $19 million is what we had to dole out. There was $63 million or $62 million in need. So a lot of things that we have to catch up on over time, but I do believe by everyone working together, we were able to allocate the funds out to really kind of help the city and take that next step. We did recognize, unfortunately, the passing of Mr. Bartley Sr., and our thoughts and prayers go out to Councilor Bartley and his family at this time. Councilor Bartley and I did speak. He will be back for the next meeting. So we'll turn over to him if he would like to say some words about his dad at that point in time. I do believe Councilor Maldonado Velez, if you want to give an update on the event that took place on Saturday for Pride.
Sure.
I know it rained, but we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so Saturday, stress is not even the word to describe what Friday was. The committee had 6 months of planning for Holyoke Pride Fest, the second annual Pride Fest, and then come Friday, the forecast was thunder and lightning. So the whole week, people were excited to be dancing in the rain, but as soon as that thunder and lightning came on Friday, we were not so excited about dancing outside. I just got to give a quick shout out to all the city hall, the city departments, the fire department, the Holyoke Police, DPW, licensing board, board of health. Everyone literally came through, and we were able. The War Memorial Commission, we were able to move the facility of the event indoors. It was a great event. Thank you for all those that were able to make it out on Saturday. It was a day full of, for me, joy, love, acceptance, and life. I'm still kind of emotional about it because it was, again, not the event that we planned, but it was the event that we needed for our city, because it just showed how resilient we are as a community, not just as the LGBTQ community, but as Holyokers, and we made it happen. So it was a good event on Saturday.
Thank you, as well as Councilor Anderson Burgos, for all the work that you did do for the event, and I know it was a lot of work and just a great job. We do have 40 under 40 guests with us today. I know Jordan Hart was one of them, and our very own Counselor Rivera. Congratulations.
I'm just trying to be like Tessa.
What?
I'm just trying to be like Tessa.
I think we got to check the ID.
And like Joe's sister. I mean, daughter, too. She got it last year.
With that, I'll turn it over to Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real quick, this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m., in collaboration, the merry-go-round in collaboration with the Children's Museum, the Holyoke Volleyball Hall of Fame, DCR being the park itself and the city, is having a party in the park. It's kind of an annual thing renamed. There's family tickets, but what's going to be included with the family ticket is rides on the merry-go-round, the Children's Museum, so forth. A number of different events will be taking place in the park, including, I'm not sure if it's our new mascot, but the Blue Sox will be down before their game to have some fun with the kids and do some baseball stuff. But it's a great day. Everybody's welcome. Best thing to do is to get the family pack online before you show up, but there will be tickets and family packs available at the doors of each of the venues. 10 o'clock Saturday morning.
Thank you for that. Yeah, Counselor?
Forgot to mention also thank you to fellow city councilors that agreed to give proclamations to the two headliners that we had. One of them was Mary Lambert, who was a Grammy-nominated MTV Award winner, singer-songwriter. And as we gave them the proclamation from the state rep, from the state senator, from the mayor, from us, she actually said, like, this almost feels better than a Grammy. So it feels good. Holyoke has that power, y'all.
Very good. Couple final points. One, June 26th, we'll have our budget meeting. So we did do having all the departments in to go over their budget, see if there's any cuts we can make or changes. So June 26th, we'll have our special meeting for that. And that trying to think of anything else. Finally, I'd say to finance, ordinance, basically all the committees, especially finance lately, the amount of work that you put in, and it's thank you is the word I'm looking for. Great job, and I know it's year end, but 53 orders, Councilor McGivern, out of finance.
Plus a couple late files.
And there'll be late files. I'm not counting those. It's the president's prerogative if they're not emergencies. Just kidding. But with that, to everyone in here, the amount of work that's been put in, just thank you. It's seen, and I appreciate it. So we're on to reports of committees, and we're on to ordinance.
Mr. President?
Yep. Oh, sorry, Councilor Thomas.
Yeah, just one more thing. I don't think anybody realized everybody gets a G&E bill. I think last month I got mine. The Valley Blue Sox, it's a G&E night on Thursday night, the 22nd. So if anybody can get down there to support the team, and they give you a little ticket of a 4-pass in your last G&E bill. So I just got another one yesterday, so I had a couple, but I almost forgot about it. The time just goes by so quick, and here it is, towards the end of June. So it'd be a nice time to support the team.
They have a very good team, by the way, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, I was there Sunday with my brother.
Yep. Very good. Pitching in particular. Mr. President,
Yeah,
if in the event we had any emergency items, and of course this would have to be something pretty big, but maybe we could use that budget meeting. If there's something come up, we'll have to touch bases with you. I know that we try to keep that pretty thin in terms of just the budget only, but I'm just wondering, there's certain things that I wonder, like perhaps these tabled items, if that can really wait till August. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, we can. If the information comes back and we have to act on it, we'll have to take it up.
All right, we'll see where we go, because that's Monday, right?
It's a Monday.
Yeah. So we may not be ready.
As a reminder, we used to do the budget on a regular full city council meeting, and then there was that meeting that went to 1 a.m., almost 2, I think it was. So we changed the rule to just do budget on its own separate night.
Right.
So that's why we're doing it this way. We've been doing that now for 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yep.
All right, so ordinance 7A, which is ordinance who was referred a handicap sign be placed at 16 Center Street. Recommend it be adopted. Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to receive and adopt and pass the first reading to place the handicap sign at 16 Center Street for Sylvia Robello. We took this up at the joint meeting so it wouldn't get delayed, because our next regular meeting won't be until next week. And Disabilities Commission looked at it and does recommend it, and we have the legal form.
All right, so motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion, anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second
Motion to
reading.
pass the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the handicap sign.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee, McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
You vote, you approve that one. 17B, command orders was referred in order that, oh, sorry.
President, I'd like to make a motion to suspend rules and take up B, C, and D as a package.
Second.
No arguments. All right, motion is B, C, and D as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? B, or the first one is the order to provide a financial review of the Sewer Enterprise Fund for 2023. Command orders are referred as complied with. C is that in an effort to strengthen Hoyoke's financial foundation, the City Council established a system to ensure that user fees associated with enterprise funds such as sewer are maintained in a level, so that is complied with. D is that the Board of Public Works Commissioners provide an update on the new sewer rate. That is complied with as well. So Councilor Vacan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll just give a brief summary because there will be a future order where this will be taken up in ordinance in more detail. But we were provided in the joint meeting between ordinance and finance with a very detailed 6 or 7 page summary relative to recommendations around the budget and the rates. So just for a thumbnail sketch relative to those, there is one proposal that looks at curing some unusual expenses and building forward that would recommend a rate of $8.58. And then there is another rate that addresses those matters a little bit differently, which converts to a rate of $7.87. And our current rate is $7.50. There's a lot of things built into the budget. I think notable things that were brought to our attention were that this year was unusual in that we had over $700,000 of lines that needed repair. It was extraordinary. There was $7,500 budgeted, and they're proposing to budget $100,000, but we're hoping that that extraordinary amount won't be happening again in this budget year. So it's a more complex matter than what I'm describing, but we will get into the depths of it in the ordinance committee as we go forward. But it was a lot of work that was brought forth to us, and there's a lot of meat on these bones for those who want to take a look at it before we get into the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd just like to say thank you to Councilor Vacan and all the members of the Ordinance Committee, and to all the members of the Finance Committee. It was an unprecedented joint adventure, which worked out very successfully. Thankfully to Councilor Vacan's leadership, but everybody participated in some very important issues. I did promise that I would file the order to review the sewer rate, because it is by ordinance. My fault, I did file it, but I forgot it was a holiday with an early agenda. It's not the city clerk's fault, it's no one else's fault but mine, and it is late filed. But it should go into committee for the purpose of reviewing the rate. It's generic with no number, and we're just, it's still by ordinance. I know there's also an order that's still being talked about returning the rate setting to the Board of Commissioners, which it was up until maybe 10 years ago.
Even less.
A little less, yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, and it was a good effort, unprecedented, but it was a really nice night that worked out well for both committees.
All right, so B, C, and D are complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now the moment we've been waiting for.
If I could, Mr. President.
Oh, absolutely.
With your permission, with the permission of this body, we have an unprecedented end of the year party tonight with financial request. Mr. President, you did note that it's not unusual as we end June as we're working on the budget, we're also finishing a budget, and we do get inundated with requests and looking for transfers and balancing of their individual departments' budgets. This year is a little bit more unprecedented because our free cash was certified so incredibly late in the year. I believe the actual certification was June 6th. Most of us only heard about it in enough time to see I forget how many, but I think it's close to 20-something free cash transfers. We learned last year, and again it was explained to us this year, that the free cash, which is considered free cash from 2022 that's certified in 2023, is allowed to you need to appropriate it, but it's allowed to be appropriated for use in the next fiscal year, 2024. Almost every order that we will be getting to in a little bit is going to be in that category, so I just wanted to update everybody on that. A lot of our agendas, we had 2 meetings, one on the 7th and one on the 14th. The 7th was 3 hours and I forget how many minutes. The 14th was 4 hours and 45 minutes. We have 53 committee reports coming out of committee. I told you there was going to be 55. We tabled 2. Credit to the Finance Committee, the hard work, a credit to the mayor, our department heads, our auditor, and then we had part of the Board of Commissioners of the DPW, superintendent and city engineer for a good part of 2 of those meetings. What I propose tonight is, I've broken it down to 10 votes for the 53 committee reports. This is unusual. If anybody objects, that's fine, I would understand. But as we go along, and you understand it's for discussion purposes, but we can do 1 vote with your permission. We'll group these items together. Most are 8, 6 items, a couple are 2, a couple 1 stand by themselves. The worst one is the free cash, but the free cash is kind of unique, and I think for the most part, we're just appropriating it. There's 3 orders we'll get to that we did not pass. We're returning them to the auditor and to the mayor, but there are replacement orders on the agenda tonight, which I'll explain when we get to that. So with your permission, Mr. President, I would ask we suspend the rules and take up as a package late filed 8, capital A, B, capital V, capital W, capital X, and capital Y. And the Wizard of Oz has already put them in order for you.
Oh, they're in our pile.
So, just to be clear, you want to take, not the late files, you want to take...
No.
This
This is committee reports.
Okay, so committee reports, we're going to take up, I have 8, A, B, V, W, X, Y,
That's it for now,
and that's as a package.
for the first vote.
So I'll say it again, just so everyone at home and here. A, B, V, as in Victor, W as in water, X, Y, Z. Not Z. Z goes back. All right. Did I do all right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just taking them in the order that you gave.
Did you have, Mr. President, do you have X there?
Yeah, X.
Okay.
You didn't say Z, right?
No, just the Y.
Okay. All right.
A, B, V, W, X, Y.
So real quickly, A is 8,000 from highway to the Elmwood Fire Station, and then West Hoyok Fire Station, 4,000 each, 8,000. B is $107,700 from highway pay HMEO to various line items. V is 5,000 from highway power shovel operator to refuge. W is 143,000 from few line items, general superintendent, administrative assistant, highway labor to parks overtime, sewer, DPW, and other line items for that 143,000. X is 12,000 from principal clerk to medical and training education. And Y is $29,975 from highway power shovel operator to various line items. Motion would be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Counselor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The, each of these, five of the six are from the Department of Public Works. The sixth one, which is 8X, is from the Police Department. All the identified where the money is coming from is personnel items that had vacancies throughout the year. The chief of police noted that I think we did so at a different meeting also, that the matrons just weren't used as much this year, and there's a surplus there because they weren't called in for various reasons, nothing wrong. It's kind of they're never sure exactly how much time they need. This is the end of the year, two department heads living within their budget and balancing items before the end of the fiscal year. Most of it is invoices and stuff from repairs and maintenance to different buildings in the DPW. There's a couple things, I'm not going to read every one of them unless you want me to, but there's a couple of highlights. Parks had some overtime. I think we all know it's May, June, and they're getting the parks ready for the end and the beginning of the year for youth sports itself. There also is in some medical and bills and some training and education bills that have to be paid in the police department. And again, almost everything else is in the Board of Public Works, and most of it's going into different items that are known as repair and maintenance and building needs. The Finance Committee worked with the superintendent, the auditor, the mayor, and everybody, and the chief of police involved, and we recommend the adoption of these items.
Anyone further? Motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call the order. If you vote yes, you're voting for those as a package.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve those. Next package.
Mr. President?
Yeah,
By the way,
Counselor Jordan.
just as a friendly suggestion for the future, when we have items that go over 26 in length, could we go to AA, B?
Oh, it's the program?
Okay. Because, all right. At some point in the past, we used to do AA, B, B, C, C, and then we would go to triple
Blame it
N.
on Lotus.
Now we're using like comma, 8 comma or
Well,
8
the
semicolon.
Counselor, to be, yeah.
Okay.
It's almost over.
No problem.
So,
Thank you.
So it's kind of like a quiz show. You got to know what the
Yeah,
symbol is.
you're just testing our grammar knowledge, that's all. All right, very good.
All right, Counselor McGivern, next round.
If we could suspend the rules for the second round, take up as a package item 8, capital C, D, E, F, G, and H.
So C. So D.
C, D, E, F, G, and H.
Put those in.
All the recommendations are complied with, and therefore kind of an easy one to do as a package.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, I gotta put them back in order. D, E. All right, we're getting there. All right, motion to suspend the rules to take those up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. C is DPW representatives and the auditor provide financial review for the sewer, complied with. D, DPW superintendent provide the city council an update on the tree list, complied with. E is finance, DPW Suez and the city engineer develop a plan regarding the West Glen Street, complied with. F, DPW Suez engineer develop a plan regarding regrading the top of West Glen Street, complied with. G is Finance Committee invites Suez representative to discuss shortfalls, cost savings, complied with. H is with the contracts with Suez coming to a close in the next few years, third-party audit of facility equipment, that's complied with. So all those are complied with. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real quick on 8E and 8F. Two orders followed by Councilor Bartley. This is work that Suez, the DPW, has completed on West Glen Street. There are always issues on that little corner there with Martin and West Glen, but they've done some good work. And I talked to Councilor Bartley a while back, and we're just doing some house cleaning and getting this out of our jacket. They came in and met with us a couple times about that, and we asked the superintendent at the last meeting. Item 8C, along with the 8G and 8H, are connected with the wastewater treatment plant. I think by now everybody knows that the wastewater treatment plant contract is up. But more important, even before we get to the renewal of that contract and the mayor and everybody gets to negotiating it before they come to us, we recognize that it's the end of the year at the treatment plant. The Board of Commissioners, along with the superintendent, along with the consultant, Mark Abrams, have been doing some look at the wastewater treatment plant, and the city auditor came to us, and there is at this moment in time a $770 deficit. Note two things. One, revenue reconciliation is still about 3.5 months behind. Could be miles too, I guess. But knowing that as they reconcile the revenues that come in about the last quarter, it could change the deficit, good or bad. Note that according to the auditor, DLS is kind of taking a firm stance that with the wastewater treatment plant, the sewer enterprise is an enterprise fund. Any deficit going into next year is going to be something that will be quickly connected to the city budget itself and offset on the recaps. We won't see it until sometime when we do the tax rate, but offset on the recap according to what it is on July 1st. I question, is that really true? Because don't we have a little grace period to reconcile all the revenue that's coming in? And the auditor said she would check into that, and she thinks they could be a little flexible, but they are sending the word that whatever the deficit is, at some point, if there is one, it's going to be connected to the general fund budget itself. We had a incredible review with Mark Abrams, with the Board of Commissioners, with the superintendent. Suez people were in, and we talked a lot about what's going on. I think everybody understands we're under a consent decree. We're under most of the future issues are CSO projects, but we have one project that's just about ready to have work. It's under a bond. We're going to have to start paying off the debt service very soon, being the Jackson Street project itself. River Terrace is in about 60% design phase. Down the road, that's going to come into play very quickly. And then in the future, there's a couple of CSOs that they're already talking about. The next big one would be Springdale Park, but we won't get into a lot of details there, although they did update us. So essentially, from these orders in front of us right now, the committee just says we've done our work. We've met with the officials as each of these orders talk about. We've got an incredible amount of information up front. We've asked for more information to help us make decisions. We agreed, and that's the late filed order I talked about earlier tonight, that we will take a look at the rate to see if it makes sense to adjust the rate to accommodate if this is a structural deficit. Councilor Bacon made a good point in committee and she made it tonight, that if these are one-time issues that caused the deficit, that's not a structural deficit, but something that there might be other ways to accommodate. Some of us, I'm only going to speak for myself, don't believe the enterprise fund should be connected to the general fund budget, and we don't believe, especially property tax, should be used for any deficit or any work down at the wastewater treatment plant, operational or not. One time is something to think about, but it's not something that you want to do. It did happen for many years, and it's just unfair to so many people, not just users, but people who don't use the wastewater treatment plant. It comes out of their property tax too, but even users, it's like double paying. They're paying the rate, and now they have to have some of their property tax has to go there. So we want to avoid at all cost deficits. I grouped these together because each of these is complied with we had a lot of good attendance by the council, Mr. President, and I think most people are just hearing me repeat what they've already heard, most city councilors, but just in case anybody in the public has any questions, I want to make sure they understand. So we're, at this point, there's other orders coming later tonight for different reasons. They're grouped in a different package. But right now, we just ask that you agree with the committee that these particular orders were complied with.
Anyone further? Motion that they've been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Next round.
Thank you, Mr. President. If we could suspend the rules. Next package to take up 8, capital I, capital R, closed bracket. Does the president know what a closed bracket is? And I have no idea. What's the next one, Jeff?
Small t.
Small t.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. On that, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so the first one is an order beginning in fiscal year 2024, funding for the city's OPED trust fund will become part of the operating budget as long-term goal for fully funding outstanding OPED liability for 2024. Recommend it be adopted. I just gotta, that one goes there. R is Committee on Finance to refer that the City Council establish an OPED or OPEB, just so we understand it correctly, liability trust fund. Recommend that be adopted. Closed bracket is free cash, a sum of $5,000 as follows. Free cash $5,000 to the trust fund. Recommended that be adopted. Small t, which is a finance referred in order to adopt Chapter 32, Capital B, Section 20 to create the OPEB trust fund. Recommended be adopted. Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real quick, and then I'm going to ask our vice chair to take over on this. Orders filed by yourself, our president, by Councilor Jordan, and the issue is OPEB trust fund is something that many communities have started, and it deals with the money that the municipality pays into the retirement system. But we have to establish this. There's a couple steps that we have to take, but we have to establish it like we do, like I don't want to say stabilization, but the prior year to get it going, to create it, to adopt the laws that allow it. There are, after we have our discussion, there are some other items that are coming up, and I think they're late filed. There's the city auditor, the city law department, Kathleen Dagan told us, and she came through. She wrote a declaration that we also have to adopt as a body, and when we get to that, we can explain it if we decide to do it tonight. We can take votes on these orders. But at the same time, I'm only going to explain one more. Well, there's an ordinance that has to be established too. Let me just explain this and then ask our vice chair if he could take it over. He certainly can explain it in more detail if there's any questions. We have replacement orders because these items. I think I'm getting ahead of myself, Mr. President. Scratch that. I'm going to ask the vice chair to take over and not even explain what I just said.
Sure.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, Councilor McGivern did a great job. Basically, the long story short on this issue is we are well aware of the fact that, and we have been doing our very best as a community to address our unfunded pension liability, which currently sits at about $146 million, and there's going to be an extremely aggressive schedule over the next 10 years, 11 years to address that. And it's going to require, and you'll see it in the budget book, that I think this year we're going up about $400 and something thousand in the appropriation. These costs are going to continue to escalate as we continue to pay down this debt. So we have a very difficult schedule, but it's one that we're going to make it work. What isn't addressed until tonight is the OPEB liability. Holyoke is one of very few communities who haven't even established the Chapter 32B, Section 20 local option to actually begin addressing it. So tonight, this is a very important historic vote in that we take the first step towards addressing this issue. The legislature doesn't yet have a date like retirement that you have to pay this OPEB liability. OPEB is other things for our retirees and employees besides their pension. So this is primarily their future health insurance benefits and these costs and the cost associated with it. So that number back in 2019 was estimated to be $224 million. I've seen a more recent report that it's somewhere in the vicinity of $310 million. Nevertheless, this is a huge amount of money, and we begin to address it with an initial payment to open the account of $5,000. Now, I think strategically as a community, we're only going to be able to do so much because, as you know, we have capital needs and we're not this uber wealthy community. What I think, how I see this potentially playing out for us is we chip away at it until we get to 2033. And then when we become fully funded for our pension liability, we can then take that money, which at that time will be somewhere in the vicinity of $15-16 million a year. And then we're going to go bananas taking that money that we used to give towards the pension fund and drop it into this account and then try and, pay that off. So this is going to be really important for us to do for our future financial solvency. Obviously, we'd like to have it done somewhere around 2040, maybe by 2043. We're going to have to really chip away at it. We'll certainly do our very best, but at least for the future, and it won't be for us, but it'll be the future councils and the future mayors or whoever is running the city 10 and 20 years from now. They will know that at least in 2023 they started. We started putting money away towards this and we got the ball rolling. One of the other requirements of this is that we also form a board of trustees over this account to begin to address and invest and manage this account. So this is really important for the city's future responsibility in addressing this liability. And I do see there is also a specific ordinance to be added to at late file A, which Kathy was good enough to put together for us too. So look forward to the council adopting all of this for our future. Thank you.
Anyone further? Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I just want to thank Councilor Jordan for bringing this forward. It's really important that we look to the future. We don't put something away in the beginning because we keep on putting it off. Things just don't get done. Yep. And I think a lot of us, myself included, wasn't really aware of this deficit, this amount that has to be put into this fund, down the road. And hopefully, as you stated, that slowly each year, and after we pay off some of these other bonds, that we can take that money once the retirement fund is fully funded and put it towards that, and the city will be much better off in the future. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is that pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for all of them as a package.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes?
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Coelho,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve those. Councilor McGee.
President, I just, on a note, and I think we're just going to refer it to committee, but the language for the ordinance is late filed A. Even though it's in legal form, I didn't entertain anything, but I think you should go to committee first.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
if whatever the will of the body is, yeah.
So,
The only other thing we could do is have the ordinance committee meet tonight to abide by the charter, but I'm not suggesting we do that.
There is an ordinance meeting on next Tuesday.
We have a meeting Tuesday, if that will be adequate for the needs of the fund.
I think so. It just, we asked that we could take the vote we just did, but nothing happens until we adopt the ordinance, which is really the declaration of the language that we have to adopt as part of the, I think it's part of state law, but.
Yeah, I
Right,
just
so-
think committee members will want to read it before we pass it, right? Committee?
All right, so motion is suspend the rules, go out of order to late file A. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Defer to ordinance.
Late file A is what we were just talking about, so we'll send that to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And we'll take it up Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay. Back to finance.
Can make a motion to suspend the rules. This package would be 8 capital J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Motion to suspend rules, take up JKLMNOP. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? J is 2023 Community Planning Grant, 200,000, no match. K is 2023 Recycling Program, 7,700, no match. L is 2023 Transportation Planning Grant, 82,300, no match. M is fiscal 23 energy grant, that's 15,000, no match. N is fiscal year 24 Green Gateway City Program grant for 100,000, no match. O is fiscal year 24 Gateway City Program Partnership Grant, 30,000, no match. And P is notification assistant, $64,039 grant, no match. Motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each of these are grants. I'll go through them real quickly. None of them have a match by the city. Some are reoccurring grants, some are new. Community Planning Grant is actually a new one. It's from the Mass Gaming Commission. Essentially, this is kind of part of that mitigation when MGM was negotiating with the different communities. But the proposal in this is to take this for the purpose of Explore Holyoke, and what they'll actually do is hire some van drivers and do some shuttling back and forth from the casino. So I asked the Mr. Vega, do you mean we're going to bring people to casinos to gamble? And he said, no, we're going to bring gamblers to Holyoke to take a break from gambling to come into an event in Holyoke or come into something that's going on in the city. And that's from Mass Gaming. The next one is recycling dividends, 7,700. I guess we have a new recycling director. Director or coordinator, whatever they call the position, but recently hired, and this is going to be used for some of the work that person does. The next one is also from Mass Gaming. The DPW is going to use this for the Main Street design, which is part of the mitigation and stuff from MGM, believe it or not. The next one is the Mass Technical Assistance Program grant. And this involves Dean School. It's pretty interesting. It's a study, but it involves hot water facilitator type thing. I can't get technical, but it's interesting. There's no match, and I think it's going to be great for not just the city, but for the students at Dean School. The next two are very familiar. They're both greening the Gateway Cities program. Yoni was in, unbelievable as always. These are trees. These grants are used to plant trees outside of the block grant area where other trees are being planted. He outlined the number of trees that this will take care of, the design, the placement, and the actual purchase and planting. And he told us, which is pretty interesting, he's got a number of volunteers that make sure that there's a bag that's put around a new tree, but that the trees are always well watered and well fed, and especially in their infancy. And the final grant is sewage notification assistance for the Mass DEP program. This is going to be used for a CSO project, and I think if I remember correctly, someone can also correct me if I'm wrong, but this is for the design phase for the River Terrace, if I remember. And just to get us through that, I think I reported it was 60% earlier. No match, we recommend that each of the grants be accepted. The other departments seem to have a good handle on the how they were going to use it. We agree with their use, and we ask the City Council to agree with the Finance Committee.
Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. You vote yes, you're voting for that package.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee. McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
For your vote, you approve that one. Next.
If we could suspend the rules, and this package is going to be 8 capital Q, S, T, and U.
We'll suspend the rules, take up Q, S, T, and U. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And I think, just so everybody's looking, it's lowercase S, T, and U. Am I right?
Nope.
Nope.
Cap.
It is capital?
Capital.
All right. I got to
All right.
write better.
So Q is $56,998.37 from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. And this is the unencumbered for fiscal year 2022. Recommend that be adopted. S is the Sewer Enterprise retained earnings, $56,998.37 from sewer retained earnings to sewer fund management services contract. T is hereby appropriated fiscal year 2023 for fiscal year 2020 sewer enterprise retained earnings accumulated of $61,127.63 to contract services deficit. And then U is $276,500 from sewer stabilization to management services contract deficit. Recommend that they all be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we had the Carl Rossi, Mary Monahan, a number of different people in on the issue of sewers. The auditor was there, and of course the mayor. The $56,998.37, two different orders with the same amount. We're actually allowing a invoice that just went unpaid inadvertently at the end of the year to be used to be paid in the next fiscal year out of the monies from the next fiscal year. If we don't pay the bill, it becomes part of the deficit. So it makes sense to. I think the committee says it makes, and I agree that it makes sense to pay it. Sorry. And then we have
T and U.
T and U. $61,127.63. This is also a deficit, and the suggestion here is that we take from retained earnings the $61,127.63, part of what we'll be doing this evening in a number of votes to offset the deficit. The final one is $276,500 from sewer stabilization, and the purpose of this is also for taking it off the deficit to offset the deficit itself. Now, this is a point where Commissioner Monahan spoke to the City Council. She made some very good points. She made an argument that some of the stabilization money needs to be, in her words, used for the study of the upcoming contract, which many of us thought that we'd already passed enough consulting dollars to do that, but apparently we were a little bit, we learned something, at the meeting. Mary made, and I give her credit, made her point. She also believes that there are a number of things that are paid for in the sewer budget that should not be paid through the user rate, and she thinks that there's a better way to offset the deficit itself with monies through either through the city budget through stabilization or something of another nature, and of course down the road looking at the rate change itself. But the rate change is not going to help the deficit for this year. It's only going to help us offset if there are projected deficits for future years. So I think as a committee, Councilor Bacon was with us. Most of us in the committee voted that we respect her opinion, but at the same time, we feel that even though it's an enterprise fund, the operator, it should be paid for through operator use. And I think I said that earlier tonight. It's unfair to let property tax dollars pay for operations deficits are not within the sewer plant itself, because some people are not users of the sewer plant, both Smiths Ferry, parts of Smiths Ferry and most of West Holyoke, and even people who are users, that's like they're paying twice, because now they're paying their property taxes, paying something that they already paid through their user fee. So we're voting to adopt these orders. There's some replacement, there's some additional things coming down late filed. I don't think we have to take them out of order, but I think right now it's up for discussion.
Anyone for Councilor Jordan?
Yeah. If this were the Supreme Court, this is what I'm going to call the concurring opinion. I agree, but for slightly different reasons. Number one, because we get the chairman and I get to the same result, but one is a lot of the reasons that there were these extra funds is because they did aggressive collections due to the implementation of something a lot of us have been talking about for quite some time, which is shut-off authority for people that don't pay their sewer bill. As you know, we have this in the water department. Believe it or not, there were people that would pay their water bill and not pay their sewer bill because they figured, you can't do nothing to me, just add it to my lien and I'll pay it in 30 years. Yeah, well, we got around that game, and now they did a nice job collecting these monies. So some of us maintain that had we had these monies, the rate wouldn't have had to be so high on everybody else because everybody would have been paying. Therefore, these funds should go to the offset so that we're not increasing the rate any higher than would need be because everybody is starting to pay up, right? Or we're going to take away the service. So that point. Now, I appreciate Mary's point, who I think is doing a wonderful job. Her point about, and I have made this point too, is only those things that are really directly sewer related, non-overall city expenses should be yanked out of that fund if we're really going to, because the overarching point that the chairman is making, I think is a good one, is, those expenses that are directly related to the sewer, those should be paid out of the sewer fund, and those that are general fund. And obviously the proverbial classic example is the street sweeping, which for decades and decades and decades was always paid out of the DPW budget. That was dumped in here. And so that obviously adds up the expenses. And obviously we'll also look at, were these really long-term systemic operational deficits, or was the $720,000 deficit actually attributable to one-time capital expense? Is this 720 really going to keep occurring in the future? We know that there's a potential bond payment coming, but the point is we want to really address the true deficit. This amount of money tonight reduces that deficit by over $300,000, which is going to help our constituents in terms of the amount of money they're going to have to come up with, or we come up with from other sources. So these should be adopted tonight, and I do definitely support them. Thank you.
Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a question. I'm not sure who could answer it. I watched all the meetings, and I was, online and present for most of them. I'm a little confused about why costs were shifted, like general costs, like the street sweeping, for example, was ever shifted from one side to another when it just seems like things are moving around, but I don't understand why, and if that's even it just doesn't make sense to me, so I'm trying to understand it. Thanks.
Councilor McGivern had his hand up.
Thank you. it actually, many, many years ago, was something I had suggested, and there were two reasons. At the time, we didn't have the money in the city side of the budget to put us, we were struggling with all budgets, but with the DPW, they were, trying to live within their budget. They weren't even putting the street sweeper out on a regular basis. The reason we suggested, and at the time it was agreed upon, is every piece of dirt, every piece of solid material that you keep out of the sewers doesn't make it to the wastewater treatment plant. Therefore, it's easier to treat the actual sewage that is going to the treatment plant itself. We also were in the process of doing the Berkshire CSO, which is the first big CSO that we did as a city. So it was a budgetary move, fair or unfair. It made sense on both ends. It helped out the city side of the budget, and at the same time, it saved money, even though they spent money in terms of what they had to pay for chemicals and treatment of what makes it to the wastewater treatment plant itself. But the argument is the city should be doing it, and it is our infrastructure. And I think the argument, I thought we already voted it, that it came back to the city. I don't know why they didn't start doing it, but that's a prior superintendent who's not here anymore.
Thank you.
You all set, Councilor Gooder? Okay, Councilor Bacon was next.
Thank you. I was just going to put a little postscript on the discussion because I did follow up with the folks at DPW about how come they never did break out the street sweeping. And they said it was problematic because we're only billed in one number. So they're not seeing line items where they can just pull it and switch it. And I guess part of our analysis should hopefully allow us to do that. Thanks.
Councilor Rivera.
So, that's a good question that you brought up, Councilor Givner. In addition to that, so I think, like the catch basin work in those areas, who does that work?
Viola, they do.
We do, the city does, right?
Oh, no, Viola.
So
I see him doing it, yeah, Viola does it.
But Veolia works for who? For the city, right?
You're paying for it either way.
Paying for it, yeah.
It's just one hand, left pocket or right pocket.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but
it's in their contract.
It's in the contract, they do it, yeah.
yes. But as taxpayers, who's paying for it?
The user and the taxpayer, probably both, yeah.
Yeah, ratepayer, I guess.
Ratepayer.
The ratepayer, right? The person that's considered the ratepayer for using the sewage, right? So that's what I'm trying to understand right now. So it's not only just street sweeping, it's also catch basin maintenance too at the same time.
Yep.
And if there's any improvements that need to be done in those areas, then where would that come from?
From them.
From them, that contract.
But from the ratepayers.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, it's like, I don't even know how many families probably, in a sense, are like, they're kind of not taking advantage because this is a system that they didn't create. That was something that was created by us in good heartedness at the end of the day. I'm not saying anything maliciously, but I feel like if I'm paying for something that other people are not paying and they're getting the same services to a certain extent. Now, if you're not getting, if you have a septic tank, I understand that you shouldn't be paying for that. You shouldn't be paying for that. But you should be paying in a percentage for street sweeping and maybe some catch basin maintenance the same way I do. I think, and I maybe, I don't know what the numbers are, but if some of that rate kind of came in, that might actually help mitigate some of the deficits that we're facing in that department.
Yes.
But I'm not a finance guy. It was just something that to me kind of made sense. I kind of want to point that out.
Councilor Jordan's next.
Yes, agree with what Councilor Rivera, or what I think you're saying, which is that, when we put these type of costs inside the fund, especially for one-time capital expenses that you would normally have to pay for anyways, right? I mean, you say you had no sewer system where people were having residential flow, you would still need catch basins to catch the water off the street, right, from just street runoff. And by the way, you'll come to know that as we study this, some of these statistics will come back, like 87% of all the flow that goes is all street runoff. It's not, only 13% is actually people, with their sewer systems. One of the things the only reason I wanted to re-speak again is why this is an important question and was something for us to just be diligent about. As the fiduciaries of the city, as the fiscal people that are watching out for the citizens, we have to be really careful with these enterprise funds to make sure that only those expenses that we have to pay for are paid for by these enterprise funds, because they're really a roundabout to Proposition 2.5, right? So if you allow the city, and you have to be careful, because sometimes people in power will say, oh, well, dump it in there, so that they can max out the tax levy and then put it over here and then jack up people's rates and see how they get around that. It's actually like a backdoor tax override. So you have to make sure that, yes, we're only charging the people, and if the rate has to go up because the operations are what they are, then that's fine, then we'll charge them whatever. But we have to be careful not to say, oh, stick these expenses over here into there, then they jack up the rate and they spend the levy on this, that, and another. Now they're getting you both ways. It isn't, because what happens is with this levy capacity is they end up taking that and spending it on other things, so that between the two combined, you end up paying more money. So this is really supposed to be kept as just what you need. And that's why these extras that we're now reappropriating back to reduce the deficit, these are actual excess revenue that we got in a prior year, so now we're applying that to the deficit. We're not saying, oh, well, let's jack up this to $8.58 or $9 and have the levy go and do this. So just something, as you're considering all of this, you want to make sure that this all checks out. Thank you.
Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had another question about the enterprise fund. So the enterprise fund, is it true that that's accumulated from ratepayer payments? Specifically,
Yes.
correct? Yes. Okay, so then that should by default only be used for sewage costs, not for street cleaning and not for catch basins, because those currently go through the city taxpayers, correct?
No, they're going through the sewer right now.
They're going through the sewage contract, which we're renegotiating. So that's how those things ended up on that side in the ratepayers' costs to begin with. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I agree with both initial speakers and support all of these orders. But I would note that in that more in-depth conversation that we had, while there was the conversation of taking out things that are citywide, i.e. catch basins, i.e. street sweeping, there was also the discussion that the city side should be charging the enterprise fund for admin costs, such as those out of the auditor's department, out of the other departments in the city in terms of admin management. So, you might take one out, but if you put one in, you're kind of going to end up back where you started, but for different reasons. But in any event, I support all of these orders tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I support all these also. It was a great discussion having the DPW come in and explain everything. And I'm just looking, I'm making a list here. When we first started with this about 20 years ago, right, Kevin? Yes. I think I have, was U.S. Water the first one?
Aquarium.
Well, I have Aquarium. Wasn't U.S. Water there at one time? Was it always Aquarium?
I think it started Aquarium, then it started changing owners.
Okay, then you got Suez.
I lost track, to be honest with you.
Now we're at Viola, but you made a good point.
Suez, we had them in
Suez, and then Viola is now, yeah. and a lot of people still call it Suez, but and I see them, and to your point, I see them out there with the catch basins all over throughout the city. I mean, it would help them to clear out those catch basins. You see them with the big truck and that big claw that goes down and pulls out all that gunk and all the dirt out, and they're there for an hour or two, just that one catch basin. And of course, there's also catch basins that are dipping down because the sewer system underneath is, failing. But the point about the shutting off the water, that was a big thing that we did years ago because, as you said, that money's coming in now, and that's why there was a little bit of a surplus here. I got a call from a constituent just the other day, and I'm sure some of my colleagues did too, about an apartment building down on South Bridge Street that they shut off the water. And they had it off for like a day and a half, and there's people there, there's kids there. And there was something in here tonight about having a management company here because the landlord's out of New York City or New York. And so he didn't pay the sewer, and I found out that the water was behind too. So they let him, I guess they got to him and they let him pay online. Normally you send a check in. They let him pay online, the sewer and the water. And I called the Board of Health, I called DPW, I called Dave Conti, and that's what happens now. They're doing this, not just residency apartment buildings. I'm feeling for these people. These people are living, 7 people, 8 people in this, 7 apartments. What do? They're out of water for a day, day and a half, just because the landlord's not paying the bills. But they explained to me they have to do it. The DPW gives an order to the water department. They go out there, they turn off the lock of the water, and sometimes that's what it takes to get it done. But as you stated, that's why a lot of this money is coming in, and hopefully people will get the word that some of these landlords that are out of state, or have somebody in here, and I noticed it tonight, a management company that could actually, pay the bills here, so this doesn't happen, because it's happened a lot more than you realize, So, but I'm very much in favor of taking that money, and as you said, it's excess money. It's money that's been paid, and it should come off of that. So we don't owe the $720. Maybe we'll owe $350, down the road. So that's important to look at, and hopefully these will take care of some of that deficit.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I stated, and I think I did a fair job of what the Commissioner Monahan told us, and the discussion debate that we had over it, for which the mayor did say he was in support of the monies to analyze the contract, and there was also an issue of paying some legal fees, which was $50,000. Not to confuse this debate anymore, because I think we understand the positions that we're taking, what we took that night, but I would like to suspend the rules for the purpose of discussion to take out 3 late filed orders that are a second option to this deficit issue and to the Commissioner Monahan's issue of stabilization money being used for purposes of the analysis and the legal stuff. It's late filed F, late filed E, and late filed I.
Mr. President, point of information, you want to add these to this package?
No, it's one or the other, and it's in a second. Our auditor should be joining us online. If I don't know if anybody can see if she's not on yet, she's in the parlor. I call it the parlor.
Not.
I, EF
Okay.
and I.
I can explain something, but I wanted, questions should go to her.
right.
But no, we can only do one or the other, is my understanding.
So motion to suspend the rules, take up E, F, and I as late files. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so there were no no's. If you want to take up final action, you'll have to vote on that as well. So here, E is $50,000 for sewer stabilization to legal counsel. F is $126,500 from sewer stabilization to contract deficit. I is $100,000 from sewer to professional services, DPW sewer financial analysis. So you got a 50, 100, and 126,500. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
These would be a different way of approaching what we're about to do, or what we're proposing to do with 276K, and that's the 276K is to go towards the deficit itself. These 3 would allow $100,000 for the comprehensive financial analysis of the professional services of the sewer. The $50,000 is for legal, which I can't do a great job, but I know Commissioner Monahan did talk about that. And the auditor is looking for the login, Jeff. And the stabilization, the 126.5 would be obviously these three or together almost equal or a little bit more than the 276. But the 126.5 would then would be what would be reducing the deficit. I believe that would still leave a balance with the deficit, but that part I'm not sure of. I know we discussed this in finance. I only picked up on these late files this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to talk to the commissioner, or more important, to the mayor about, which one they're proposing. The reason I think we have to discuss this is because of the contract analysis on if there's an impact on that.
Okay, Councilor Jordan.
Just so for people who are trying to figure out the Plan A and the Plan B, but essentially they're taking the same amount of money from 8U and taking it into three packages. So 8U, so option 1, 8U is take the 276 and put it towards the deficit. E, I, and F is instead of 276,500, only do 126,500 towards rate relief, and take 150,000 and put it towards doing contract analysis and legal counsel. Okay, so that's the difference between the two options. My opinion at the moment is I think we should stay with our original plan of the 276.5 for rate relief. I think there's other sources potentially for the 150,000. There's a array of different things. One, how about we start getting the list of the things that they said they were going to take out of the sewer fund? That would create an immediate potential deficit relief. Number two, they're not even sure of all the confirmed revenues and the final numbers of the deficit yet anyways. And number three is these were capital expenses. So the question is, should the city be using why can't the city put 150,000 towards the capital expense that probably shouldn't have been in there in the first place, and then go fund the 150 for these two things, which by the way are legitimate costs. I don't dispute that. I mean, I've been one basically standing on my chair for 20 years saying we need a financial analysis of the sewer contract. So this one for our renewal, and by the way, that's coming up really quickly. Like, we have notices we need to give, or we start losing some of our rights under that contract. And then they need outside counsel support, which is what the 50,000. So support the cause, don't support yet the source of what they're doing. I think they should stay with Plan A, and then let's figure out this 150 later. Either we send it into committee, but there's other buckets we can fund this from. And it may be ultimately out of the sewer fund, but the question is, it's either the revenues come in better, the deficit isn't as big, we put in the money for the capital that shouldn't have been in there in the first place, and we get the list from Mary about the other things. So there's a lot of other opportunities to fund the 150. Mm-hmm. And F wouldn't even be needed if we do Plan A anyway. So thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you. I agree that we should move forth with the recommendation from the committee. And I would note that the revenues have been coming in consistently for the first 10 months. So I think it's reasonable to think that the last 2 months will be consistent when that revenue is recognized. Thank you.
Anyone further? Yeah, Councilor Bjorn.
I don't disagree. I'd like to, I just think it's important that we discussed it, if no other reason. And Councilor Jordan made a point where there are other options for, doesn't necessarily have to be the sewer fund because it's the city negotiating it. Mm-hmm. And we certainly want to make sure we do the right thing. And I respect Commissioner Monahan's opinion, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I think we got to wipe out the deficit, and that's the most important thing first.
Auditor just joined in. So,
if I could suspend the rules just in case there are questions, and let Tanya Dorjic address this quickly.
So motion to suspend the rules. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Tanya, there? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. Okay. So
Councilor Jordan covered all of the items absolutely correct. So I think you guys are on the right track. And he was right you can vote that 276.5 straight towards the deficit, or you can take the 3 late files, which were discussed in finance, and vote on those. So it could be one or the other.
Okay. Counselor Rivera, you had your hand up.
So for clarification on what I'm voting on, right? Because I'm not just going to vote just because y'all said so, right? The amount of money is the same, but for me, it seems like on these 3 papers that the money is itemized, right? Yeah. Which is different than when you allot the 276 to be spent in the general fund, more or less, right?
No, that's
No,
sewer fund.
Well, I mean the general fund for the sewer fund.
No.
Well, we just so we're clear, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
So we have this $720,000 deficit.
Deficit, yep.
Right. So that number is what it is. So the question is, how do we address it? Right. So we're either going to raise rates, or we're going to use these surpluses. And so the vote in 8U, the 276.5, is to say, hey, you've got over here in this bank account this extra surplus.
We're using it to pay the deficit.
Yes, sir. So that's what we're doing. We're taking the 276 and we're putting it towards the 720.
So so in a sense, we're taking funding, extra funding to cover deficit funding.
That's right.
Users paid.
Yeah. So this is extra money we had previously to go towards this year's projected deficit.
Is that best practice?
No, because the amount of revenue you take in each year is an imperfect science. Some years they forecast X in the budget and Y happens. This particular year, they did a really nice job with collections. You remember the point we made about they went after the previous people?
And I'm asking, thank you again, Councilor Jordan. And I'm asking these questions because I do not.
Good question.
I do not feel like it's best practice, to be honest, but I will vote for it just out of the sake of we do have to help mitigate that deficit. But I feel like there is a reason why they kind of ask for these specific dollars for their department, right? And they're trying to invest it in a strategic way to try to do forward planning. And hopefully we can find another way to help support them with the funding to help mitigate some of these issues in the future. Thank you.
Councilor Murphy-Rambolet.
I was just going to follow up on Councilor Rivera's question. And I mean, like, I understand why folks are suggesting that we do this. It just doesn't feel like it's going to solve anything long term. So I'm actually wondering if we could ask the auditor, does DLS, what do they say about this? Is she still
She's still on.
on?
Tanya?
So what DLS says is that it really is up to the city council to vote on how they would like to best cover this deficit. Either way, the deficit must be covered before we set the tax rate. So if you vote the 276 to reduce the 770 deficit, then you're only going to have to write off on the recap before you set the tax rate like $330,000. But if you take the late files and you keep the $50,000 and the $100,000 for services for the enterprise fund, then you're going to have to put a larger deficit, a larger subsidy in your enterprise fund. So that is going to affect your tax. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I mean, I know we discussed that at the committee level, and it was, very, upfront with everything, and it does make a lot of sense. And I agree with Councilor Jordan and Councilor Vacan. I mean, we have to bring that deficit down, and there's no way that, we're going to forget about the legal counsel or the other money that we have to do for the future. So it's important that they take the 276. And I thought if it was 770, we still owe about over 400,000. It seems. I don't know where she said 330, but I know there's some other monies, the 50,000,
Because we're moving
56,000.
61,000.
There's another
61, I think, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's important we bring that deficit down as much as we can, and there's going to be other options, I think, down the road in July. Just to get the legal counsel and to get the other money, the other 100,000 for the, and I agree, we need the analysis. Definitely do, for the future, so I'm with option A.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. So when I was watching that last finance meeting, I couldn't help but what stuck with me is a request to have a study of how we are funding these things, and I'm a little stuck on the end of that meeting because I feel like it sort of fell apart for me where I think the DPW side was talking about figuring out a way to find funds for a study, and there was some confusion about how much money was already spent on different studies. So I'm still not really comfortable. I'm honestly not that comfortable voting on this just because I'm still trying to figure it out, and I have been for a couple of days now, and it's kind of, I don't understand how voting for something right now is going to fix, again, like I've heard a couple of people say, the long-term problems that are existing. So I'm wondering if anyone can clarify for me how voting for this now fixes the future and brings into play a study of a long-term solution for this city.
Counselor Bacon.
If that was understandable at all, what I just.
So, through the president to Counselor Givner, I think we are looking at a two-part thing here. In a future order, there will be a rate review as recommended by the group at that finance committee meeting that will be taken up in ordinance. So
Right.
that's looking to the future rate.
Mhm.
This is looking at the immediate circumstance, and the state's essentially telling us, you either pay the deficit down or we're going to take it off your sheet and make it fixed. So do you want to have more going on to that sheet or less? I mean, that's oversimplifying it a little, but that's sort of the bottom line.
Counselor McGivern.
If I could just ask the auditor a quick question. Tanya, how much is left in the sewer stabilization fund? How much is in it
The stabilization fund right now.
right now?
You'd have to add the, hold on a minute. I believe it's $293,000.
Okay, thank you.
293,000, yep.
Thank you. We have option A and option B, but option A is the immediate short-term problem that we're having. It's the end of the fiscal year. We have to make a decision as to, we have a chance, and only the mayor can propose these transfers. We have a chance to offset that projected $770,000 deficit. And by doing so, whatever we offset will not be able to come out of the general fund because we took care of it with dollars that were at one time generated through the user fee itself. So that's the short term. The long-term questions come into play. Again, Commissioner Monahan is not in disagreement of offsetting the deficit, but she doesn't want the mayor to use stabilization dollars, sewer stabilization dollars. And that's where the disagreement came in. And as much as the mayor wants money to be spent on the long-term problems, which Councilor Givner was talking about, and they're not going away. We need to, earlier I mentioned the CSO projects where they are in order. The Jackson Street is done, River Terrace is next, and right after that, we're talking a couple years, another big one's going to be Springdale Park. They're going to be costly, and that's in committee. We have a $10 million bond, which we're not going to get into tonight. I can report on it, but it did not come out of committee for good reasons, because we don't have the money to support it through the rate. So it's short term tonight. Option A is the one that I agree with. But in fairness, I wanted everybody to understand option B, because long term is on the table and we do have to address it. But I think we were behind the eight ball because of the timing, because everything was so late. It's not just the free cash certification of the general fund, the stabilization sewer fund, and everything was only something that's been coming into play recently. Again, that deficit could change because the treasurer's office has not reconciled all the receipts for this quarter. Usually there's a grace period because money can be coming in right up to June 30th. And that would take away some of the deficit if it comes in above projections. That's just a hopeful thought. It could come under projections and add to the deficit, which is what we don't want because, in my opinion, we don't want it coming out of the general fund. So short term is tonight. I agree with option A.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for your patience as I have another question. So the sewer stabilization fund currently being where it is, does it have a purpose other than what we'd like to use it for? Like, what is it for generally supposed to be for?
Money left over from prior years.
To be used for?
The sewer fund.
Specifically, okay.
Correct.
And then what's the penalty of option A? Is there a penalty? Is there, is there a downside to the?
No.
Automatically?
Go ahead.
The penalty is whatever we don't option A is using the 276,000.
Right.
That offsets part of the 770,000 projected deficit. So if we don't do option A, there'll be more of a deficit at the end of the year because we offset less because option B is only 126,500. So it's just a difference of the amount of deficit that's going to happen.
So either half of that comes out of the general fund or all of it, basically, from the deficit.
We don't know when, but DLS is saying it's going to be as of July 1st that they're going to calculate the deficit regardless of what happens with the with money that came in the last quarter. But in the past, they haven't done that until we do the final recap sheet being when we set the tax rate. So that's negotiable. I can't tell you what DLS will do, only what they've told the auditor they're going to do.
So with that, as a reminder, we took up late files for discussion.
They were just for discussion. If we vote on the option A and it passes, we can't vote on option B because there's no money left in the stabilization fund.
Right.
Yeah.
So as of right now, we can go back to.
We should vote on T and U, Mr. President, so I'll make a motion to pass the first reading on 8T and 8U.
Well, just hold on one
We
second.
already did pass
Because
that.
it was Q, S, T, and U all together.
Well, we already adopted Q and S, didn't we? Or we
No,
just
we took-
discussed them?
Just discussed.
Oh, that's right, it's all a package, I forget.
So.
We can do
motion-
separate votes. I think I would propose we separate.
All right, that's why I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
So do you want to take up T and U first or Q and S first? Just took them up as bad. However you want to do it. I don't. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Q and S are not even close to controversial. That's just saying you're paying a prior year
Yeah.
bill with this year.
Q and S
So
first.
how about we get rid of those first? So Q and S motion is
Yeah.
to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for Q and S only.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With that, you approve those. Now off to T and U. Therefore, motion is to pass the first reading.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for T and U as a package.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
No.
Jordan.
Yes.
10 yeas, 1 nay.
With your vote, you approve those.
If I can make a motion on E, F, and I that we return them to the auditor.
Motion
Second.
to
Second.
take E, F, and I and return them to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we're back to the next round.
It's item 8Z by itself, Mr. President.
Oh, okay. 8Z.
Package of one.
50,000 from free cash to local ambulance study. Motion to pass the first reading. Our discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just, when I was putting everything together, I just thought that, not controversial, but I thought this should just stand by itself. Ambulance service in Holyoke has been talked about, discussed about in the past. Ambulance service being that it would come under the umbrella of the fire department, where we would actually possibly, one option, own an ambulance or two or three, and we would provide the service for the city. There's a lot to it. It has to be connected with the hospitals. It has to be connected in a plan that makes sense. Most important, 10 years ago, I would have said no to the city doing it because Chicopee was doing it, and I think they still are. And 10 years ago, Chicopee was losing money. They were having deficits because ambulance services for emergencies don't always make monies. Private ambulance companies make their money from transportation, which is, taking mom home from the hospital to rehab and then home and back to the hospital and so forth. Things have changed. There are ways to, billing is better, and there are ways to, I think, to not just break even, but to provide the service and at the same time not go into the red. But this would be for a study purpose to see if it is feasible. The committee recommends that we allow the mayor to use the free cash for $50,000 for that purpose.
Councilor Jordan.
I agree with the chairman. I would only add just a couple points. One is I'm really glad that we're doing this. I'm thankful that the mayor is doing this on the basis that this has been something really important to the Holyoke Fire Department for many, many years. And I feel like when the leadership of the fire department feels really strongly about something that they could do to better the city, better the department, bring in revenue, you owe them the opportunity to study it and to take their thoughts seriously. And I thank Holyoke Fire Department, the leadership, and the current chief, as well as the past chiefs, have been really very supportive of this concept. And I'm glad that we're doing this. And by the way, for those that were at the meeting, I said I would try and find the old study. I dig it out of the Jourdain archives. I did find it. It was in 1997. It was done by Chief LaFond, and I did send it over to the mayor, so and the current fire chief. So hopefully that'll help them in some way as well. So best of luck to them as they consider this opportunity.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, very important. The mayor is really looking forward to doing this, and it is a lot of times that we're getting consulting on different areas, the Treasury Department, tax collectors. The ambulance study is something that's been brought up before, and I think it's important for, as Councilor Jourdain said, for our city and our fire department to take a look at it and see if it can be done and maybe make a profit.
So motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the $50,000.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee. McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, this is the big one.
All right.
Okay.
Make a motion to suspend the rules to take up
Left bracket.
Backslash.
8, open bracket,
And a dot.
8 slash, I always forget which way slash goes, but.
Backslash.
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 8 underscore,
Underscore.
8 apostrophe,
A.
8A, the lower A,
B.
B, D, E, G, H, J, K, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S.
Motion to suspend the rules to take those up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We'll let him read them.
Ditto, what Councilor McGivern said.
All these are free cash and going into various items for next year.
So first one is $52,500 from free cash to police capital outlay equipment. That's probably gonna fall. Yeah. The next one is $560,000 free cash to DPW highway bridges outlay vehicles, plow truck. Next one is $45,000 free cash to weights and measures.
What about the one above?
Next one is $42,003 free cash to DPW property capital outlay. Next one is $4,627 to fire information technology. Next one's $150,000 for contract forest services, trees. Next one is $100,000 for War Memorial Commission. Next one, $100,000 for DPW highway bridges capital outlay infrastructure sidewalk improvements. Next one is $75,000 for legal claims damages. Next one is $73,000 for DPW contracted services. $62,000 for fire capital outlay vehicle. $35,000 for OPED program costs. $25,000 for legal counsel, special counsel. $25,000 for DPW capital outlay clock tower. $27,000 for line painter replacement. $22,000 for cruiser MDT. $250,000 for council chamber renovations. $250,574 for installment payment for cruisers. $225,000 for records management systems replacement. Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, each of these are coming from the free cash fiscal 2023 that was certified on June 6th, and the city was notified. Each of these are being allowed. The mayor is proposing it. The auditor agrees with it. And as last year, not as many as last year, I mean a lot more than last year, DLS says it's something that we can do. It makes sense to do it because if we don't pinpoint, if we don't appropriate the free cash into something specific, it just stays as free cash. And then July 1st comes and the free cash is again looked at. It would be counted, but it could end up offsetting deficits like the sewer deficit if we haven't, I call it encumbered, but that may be not the correct term. So by doing this, and each of these, with maybe a couple exceptions or gray areas, are one-time capital outlay, one-time expenditures, and for the most part, none of this is direct operating cost. So it kind of fits into what we've been using free cash for. It's an allowed use. It's allowed to do it according to what we've been told in the Finance Committee, both last year and this year. So very quickly, and if anybody wants to separate any order to vote no or to disagree, that's fine. And no questions asked, we'll separate them and take a separate vote. So the first one is the $52,500 police capital outlay portable radios. The radios, according to Captain Moriarty, are 6 years old. They're not. Actually, they're more than 6 years old, but their life expectancy is about 5 years or a little bit more than that. They're in need. Plus, we have new police officers that need their first radio. This money would purchase about 15 new radios. Next one is the $560,000. Carl Rassi was in before us. What they're looking for is to purchase two vehicles to replace a 1994 currently 170,000 miles, In 1996, 134,000 miles. These are plow trucks, but they are the dump trucks with the plow. The committee did listen to Mr. Rossi. He made some good arguments. Next one is $45,000. This also is, no, I'm sorry, this is for our new sealer weights and measures. We early in the year appropriated or started a budget for the newly hired sealer and weights. This would be to buy a vehicle. City hasn't owned the vehicle, and it isn't even around anymore for probably a good 10, 15 years for this purpose. But not only is it a special truck that the sealer weights and measure uses, it stores all the tools that he needs, whether he's going in to check gas station pumps or if he's going to state, even scales at the deli at Stop and Shop or the local grocery or anywhere where he goes in to look at and to make sure everybody is calibrated to the correct, for whatever tool that it is, to the correct calibration. That would be the $45,000 would purchase it outfitted. Next, $4,627. This is 4 computers, and it is dispatch computers in the fire department, if I'm correct. $42,003, a vehicle, fire department. This would be the replacement of 2002 Expedition. Thank you. I just can't read my writing. And I don't have the mileage, but it's got a lot of miles on it. $150,000. This earlier tonight, I apologize. I don't think I highlighted when we did the complied orders. We did talk about the trees and the issue with trees themselves. I know Yoni's got some stuff coming in, but this would supplement the forestry department and the trees themselves. And I think I talked about the fact that the block grant cannot do the entire city. Everybody should have received the tree list of what's been done, and I think it makes sense to put that into something. We all know how big that list gets very quickly. Next one's $100,000 War Memorial, some incredibly needed repairs in a historic building. Sean Sheedy, who works under the superintendent of the DPW, has been working on a lot of these projects. He gave an incredibly detailed explanation. It's a big part of this is the elevator in the War Memorial. It's the joint, the piston underneath ground that needs to be dug out, replaced. And this is an estimate, but that can be a very costly repair, which they don't know until they dig it out exactly what it's going to cost. Next is $100,000 Highway Capital Bridges Capital Outlay sidewalk improvement. Again, this will complement where CDBG doesn't fall into place. There is always need for sidewalk, and this will give the DPW superintendent a good budget to work from next year for sidewalk replacement. The list is also long. Next, $75,000 is claims and damages. Our city solicitor came in. Claims and damages, and the mayor admitted to it, was cut by the mayor. If you look in the budget, it says only $25,000. I mean, we've never been under $100,000, I think, in the last several municipal budgets. Some of this doesn't come into play immediately, but some of it does during the course of the summer. So the mayor's agreed to replace the claims and damage that he cut if we agree to transfer the free cash into it. Next is $73,000. Again, Sean gave us an explanation. This is for the Pelsier building. That's the DPW building itself. There's some serious things that were noted by, I lost the state agency that came in, but they actually did invite him in. And Carl I thought it showed the importance of Carl being chosen as the new superintendent, because he said he welcomed I think it's Department of Labor, not Labor Service.
Labor Services?
I think so.
Something like that.
Okay. And a lot of municipalities don't want that agency near them, but he wanted to know what was going on, what needed to be done for worker safety and for everything else that's involved. And the next one is fire department is $62,000. This would replace a 2006 with $96,000. But more important, it's underneath is starting to rot out, and it's the SUV that the fire department uses in firefighting services for the deputy chief and others that go around. $35,000 historic program cost. This is a technical support, and it's an existing line item, which has only got $1,000 in it. It's but we work with the OPED department works with the Pioneer Planning Valley Commission, the technical support, but it's something that is paid back in dividends to the work that they do. Another one from city solicitor was $25,000. This is an outside attorney. She went over the entire. Outside attorneys are nothing now that she told us nothing compared to what it used to be in recent past. But now that the department is finally fully staffed, including a paralegal and three plus attorneys, and also some clerical, which they haven't had all the support in the recent past. She's asking this to pay a bill I'm sorry, she's asking this because her budget was cut, and part of that budget is the retainer for the legal services he does a lot of the contract negotiations.
Mr. Dupree.
Dupree, thank you, Attorney Dupree. Thank God we have Counselor Tomlin sitting next to me. Next one, $25,000, clock tower. This is for the repeater. The repeater is part of public safety that's up in the clock tower. This would be to enclose and make sure that repeater is part of the dispatch and what they do in terms of radio clock control. It's in our clock tower, has been for some years, but this would stabilize it by enclosing it and working on some needed repairs on that area of the clock tower itself. $27,000, highway bridges, capital outlay equipment. Line painting, 2 new line paintings, one for highways, roads, and one for parks. The one for parks is for fields. The other one, I think we all understand, when they're out there, they need a new line painter to repaint all the lines. Carl told us his plan. He seems to have a reasonable plan to keep the lines painted. He knows he's got a lot to do, and we let him know there is a lot to do. And we do support because it is important. $22,000. Number of different things, 3 mobile data terminals, a computer, a couple other small items that go with the computer itself. And this one is, I have no idea. It's the police department, sorry. This is what goes in the cruisers themselves. It's the data terminal is kind of like, it's not, I don't know if it's the laptop or what the laptop connects to, but it's what the officers, when they're out in the cruiser, was what they need. This would replace, and I believe we got something from Captain Moriarty in the email today. I'll look it up in a second, but this is replacements that makes sense, and that's why he's proposing that we do so many each year, just like we do, not just like we do cruisers, but like we try to do for a lot of different capital outlays for things that don't last forever. $250,000. Capital outlay building improvements. Look around.
Right here, City Council.
I'm not voting for that.
Why not?
You want to separate it?
Yeah, I want to separate it.
All right, so we're going to separate this one, Mr. Council, because
Especially this mural stuff.
there is some good reports about the whole thing. We had a long. Do you want us to separate it? All right, we have a long talk with Sean about this. Mostly, I mean, all the improvements are things that are visible, and I thank Councilor McGee because I know he worked close with Sean and the superintendent on what this room needs in terms of furniture, in terms of what's historic, what's not historic. The only thing that was, if anything, I wouldn't even say controversial, is how to and what to do with the mural. The upper murals, not the big part, but the upper part, the trim that goes around half the room, sounds like it has to come off. They want to duplicate it and put it back up there after they redo the walls. My understanding is and it's not a pledge, but the commitment is to try to save the bigger murals, the best they can, and restore them instead of replacing them. That's not a pledge, but it is something that they want to do, or at least we urge them to do that. A couple more, $250,574 is the police department installment. It's a payment for 6 cruisers. Councilor Maiardi did send an email today with what exactly 6 cruisers that will be coming offline. Councilor Jourdain made the point. I don't know if he heard me. But, you know, if you're gonna buy 6 new cruisers, you know, and the mayor agrees that, you know, any department, when you're buying something new, let's not keep everything hanging around for purposes. They did make a good point. We do have our own police mechanic, and that they do use some of the older cruisers rather than turn them in for salvaging parts for the purpose of the not so old, you know, cruisers for the purpose of doing them. Cruisers, I think we all know, are 24/7, and it's a good practice to replace so many every year. Last one, $225,000 police data management equipment. This is an IMC unit. It's a system that is 30 years old. It's at the end of its life, according to Captain Maiardi. The replacement will be an RMS, which has a new platform and something that brings us up to speed in the area of data management, which I think most of us agree that is so important in the police department. Unless there's anything that needs to be separated, the committee recommends that the free cash of each of these items they be reappropriated for the purpose of using next year's for each of what is proposed for in front of us.
The motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for all those.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jourdain.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
If you vote you approve that package, Counselor McGivern.
Mr. President,
Counselor Shalman, sorry.
I know we already passed these, but I just made a statement. When Sean Sheedy was here, that radio repeater up at the clock tower, I mentioned I want to get up there when he puts that in there, that control. I got 6 months to go in these hollow chambers here, so I want to get up to that clock tower before I leave. So
Just make sure you have a rope around your waist.
I'll try to do that, but that'd be amazing to get up there and see how that all operates. So
The fire chief said he'd send an EMT vehicle over just to make sure he got back down.
Yeah, and don't pick a 100-degree day.
no, I won't do that. I'll wait till the fall.
Mr. President, if we
It's
could,
all about timing. Sorry. Tower. Move on.
if we could suspend the rules,
Yes,
I think we're on package number 8, I hope.
I
Yeah.
think so.
And this would be 8, the thing that points up.
Arrow up.
Arrow?
Councilor Rivera did this last meeting, and I had no clue what you were doing, Izzy, until I saw this when I was trying to say it. And so I went to the Wizard of Oz to tell me what each of these were. Arrow up. 8 arrow up, 8I, and 8L. And with these, items 39 and item 40.
39 and 40.
Later on in the agenda. I'll explain.
All right, motion to suspend the rules, take those up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Arrow up is 5,000 for Office of Public Safety. I is 65,000 free cash to Public Safety, Housing Navigator, Homeless Liaison. L is 300,000 contracted services, ongoing catch-up work for Treasurer's Office. 39 is 5,000 free cash to City Stabilization for Office of Public Safety. 40 is 65,000 free cash to City Stabilization for Office of Public Safety, Housing, Homeless Liaison. And all these are to return back to the auditor. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. 40 and 39 are replacements, but for the Treasurer's Office, if we could also take up late filed H and G, they are also replacements for what we are suggesting. H. H
File
and G.
H and G. G is 50,000 from free cash to mayor's contracted services, ongoing support for treasurer's office. H is 250,000 free cash, city stabilization, anticipated appropriation of mayor's contracted services for the treasurer's office. Councilor McGivern.
If we could, I would suggest we would first do the committee report, which is to return these items back to the auditor, back to the mayor. Very, very simple. It's not that we're in disagreement with the public safety office and what the free cash, $5,000 is for supplies, office and professional supplies. The $65,000 is to pay for a proposed human housing navigator homeless liaison. There is no position created yet, so using the free cash this way makes no sense. So we suggest we send those both back to the auditor and the mayor. We also had a lengthy discussion on the $300,000 to the treasurer. It's being proposed to use for the ongoing work starting July 1st of the outside contract that works in the outside contractor vendor works in the treasurer's office. It's outside vendor, I think, is Mass Munifin. Sarah and her team have been coming in for some time and will continue to come in. Rory Casey was with us. He went over everything that they've been doing. We simply said we'd like some more information. Councilor Jordan, Councilor Reagan was with us. All the members of the Finance Committee said, look, it's not that we're against the catch up, and we understand what's been going on in the treasurer's office and we need to correct it long term, but we also want to know what happened the last year for the $250,000 that was spent, and what is this, $300,000 going to get us? So I then asked, what, is the team coming in starting July 1? The answer is yes, they're scheduled to, but if we don't put some money in the line item, you can't pay them, so they would have to postpone work until we made a transfer next year. So we're going to see replacement items for each of these orders. The public safety ones, the 65 and 5, the replacements are on the agenda. It's real simple. We're going to do the same amount of money, but put it in a stabilization fund, earmark it for the public safety office. The ordinance committee can do their job about whether or not we agree to create this position. And then if we do agree, the mayor then can propose to use the money again, and we'd have to vote for it out of stabilization, but it would be protected for next year. Same idea, but a little bit different with the treasurer's office. The two late files, late file H is $250. The $250 would go into a stabilization fund for the same purpose. We wouldn't be giving it to the treasurer until we know more, until we hear more. But to keep that team working for the summer, $50,000, if we agree to adopt it this evening, would keep the Munifin, Sarah and her team going for the summer on the work that they do in the treasurer's office. I think voting first, we all agree, or the finance committee suggests we give the first orders return to auditor, and then we can do two separate votes on the proposals coming in.
Councilor Jordan.
I really appreciate the auditor and the mayor putting this together, as well as the chairman. Again, a couple different points. One is on the one that immediately comes to mind is this treasurer quote unquote cleanup. This thing is getting to be. I don't recall ever having the conversation. I have to go back in the minutes, but I don't recall anybody saying that we were signing up for a $900,000 bill to clean up the treasurer's office. They came in with a proposal to spend, I want to say, about $275 to clean up the treasurer's office. Okay, we got the bad management report, we got some issues, we got some concerns. We're going to allocate $275,000, clean it up, get back on your feet, here we go. Oh, did everybody realize that's only round one of 3 rounds? That there's this year they want $300,000 more, and then there's going to be $300,000 more another year from that. We're actually spending more on the cleanup than it is to actually run the department. I mean, hold on a minute here. I've got some serious questions to ask, and I also want to have some accountability to the cleanup that we had, I want to say 8 or 10 years ago. We were asked to do a cleanup, and we did that as well, whatever came of that. So I'm going to be a tough sell on $900,000. I was signing up for $275, not nine. Just to think, if we had to spend an equal amount of money in every single department as it costs to actually clean up the department as it is to run the department, and it takes you 3 years to clean up a department, I mean, I'm mind numbed at how it could possibly be that. But I'll try and keep an open mind to listen to how this is. But I'm going to be a tough sell. I really need to be convinced that it costs $900,000 to clean up the treasurer's office. But we'll see. But I felt the fair compromise was, okay, we'll give you $50,000, keep it going, while you try and convince us that this is something that we need to be doing. Thank you.
All right, so for the first package, arrow up, I, L, 39 and 40, those are going to be returned to the auditor.
No, 39 and 40 we're going to adopt.
Okay.
But they replace what we're returning to the
All right.
auditor.
So for arrow up, I and L, return to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Make a motion 39 and 40 pass their first reading.
I'll second.
Just a reminder, 30 is $5,000 from free cash for office and professionals supplies, and 40 is $65,000 from free cash to city stabilization, the liaison. So motion is receive,
President.
adopt, pass the first reading.
Just one technical point.
Hold on one second,
Okay,
Councilman
I'm
Velez.
I have a question just to make sure I'm understanding free cash stabilization. So this year we have all this money, fiscal year 23, free cash that we have to appropriate for next year, fiscal year 2024. As we appropriate this, so if just an example, we give it to the public or the city stabilization fund, looking at 39. So as we're appropriating this to city stabilization, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going specifically to the ones that we're discussing. So like if right now, even though we want to appropriate the $65,000 for this housing navigator, it's not confirmed, like that's right. So like come fiscal year 2024, we can still use that $65,000 for
Use it
anything
forever. It's
else.
going into stabilization.
Then my question is for the stabilization fund, then that money just stays in there until it gets used in the future. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure I
Councilor-
understood that.
Jourdain's next, and Councilman McGivern.
I'm glad he by him asking my question was the point I wanted to make, which was exactly what he just said, which is when the money goes into stabilization, the only thing I thought was, and I know what they're intending, but when it goes into the stabilization fund, I was just making note of the little extra added wording on there. It doesn't mean in the future that theoretically the mayor and the council have to, in the future, appropriate it. Once it goes into the stabilization fund, the mayor and the council can do whatever they want, assuming everybody agrees.
Councilor McGivern.
And if we disagree with creating this position, there's no need for the 65,000.
That's
So
right.
it has to be flexible. But it also is a 2/3 city council vote to appropriate it out of stabilization for whatever the mayor proposes if he does.
All right, so for 3940, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for both of those.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Benny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
We vote to approve those on to G and H.
We could suspend the rules and take final action.
Motion to suspend the rules and
Second.
take final action. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so motion will be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern?
Yeah, just real quick, and I think both Councilor Jordan and I are just saying the same thing differently, but this is the replacement orders. It allows us time, $50,000 to keep the work going just for the summer months into September. And then the 250, same idea with stabilization. There's no guarantee it's going to be used. It would have to be proposed again by the mayor with a 2/3 vote by this body. But this protects the free cash from being used for a deficit and not being there next year.
So motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor? Oh,
Aye.
Counselor Tomlin?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I mean, it's already been said that, the 50,000 gives us a little bit of time, and I'm not totally sure I'm sold on the 300,000. And we have to look at what happened. What happened last year? What was the money that we spent and how was it spent, utilized? And it only makes sense. We have to watch out, watch the city dollars here. And if it needs it, it still needs it. I'd like to see, the consultants, what they're actually doing every day. Are they in the phone call 2 times a week, or are they coming in the office and they're showing us what's happening? That's a lot of money.
Have you received a report yet?
I haven't gotten no report.
No,
Hopefully that's forthcoming.
Must be
right?
next to my report, because I haven't got one either.
Well said.
Counselor Bacon?
Yeah, and just in that regard, I really want to know what these consultants have taught our employees so that they can carry forward. I can't believe in a year our people can't carry some of the work forward. So I'm very interested in understanding that. Thank you.
Counselor Velez?
Thank you, Mr. President. So Councilor McGivern's response or comment actually opened up another question for me. So if when appropriate to stabilization, it goes towards the deficit. So is the city in a deficit right now? Like, is it, if we have a surplus of this, it just makes sense that it goes towards the city's deficit. That's the word that was used. So I just wanted to get clarity as to like how we got to the free cash. What's the deficit? I know we talked about the sewer fund earlier being a deficit, but what does that mean for the city?
So I think what he was saying is the 250 will go into stabilization instead of staying in free cash and then be using to offset deficit. So it goes into stabilization to potentially be used for these expenses, but that don't have to be. But if you don't do this, it stays in free cash.
You won't be able to access it.
For a year.
For a year.
Oh, and you can't use the free cash in that year until you appropriate it till next year.
Right.
Oh, actually, maybe Councilor McGivern. No, that's the question.
No, I think I understand. I did say one thing that might have confused you, Counselor. The city known deficit isn't there yet because we don't do the final recap sheet until around September, October, and then we set the tax rate. Before then, the mayor can file supplemental budgets because he has room within the ceiling. Not saying he should, but there are ways to offset if there is any deficit. The deficit I was speaking of is what DLS has been doing, is when they calculate, if you looked at the free cash calculation this year, there was close to $7 million in surplus. Yeah. We only saw 4 something because they used or wouldn't let the other $3 million be used because it offset things that are out of whack, and it's not all grants. It's a lot of things. But and there's always something. This is a normal thing. We don't always see it, but I think we have a great auditor and have a mayor that is very open and very transparent in terms of what's going on. But the deficit issue won't come into play until we get the final recap. The state hasn't even set their final budget. We don't even know exact dollars we're getting from the state. And we do know our estimated local receipts, but there's a lot that comes into play between now and September, October.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Murphy-Ramboletti.
Thank you. Real quick, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone sometimes because you guys are talking about how we haven't had a report from the treasurer on the consultants, and am I crazy? Did we not talk about this in finance? We did, right? Am I nuts? Maybe, I am. I'm on the city council.
No, we all are.
I don't know.
We're certified just being here.
I just feel like that's super disingenuous, and it's also kind of condescending, and it's wild to me that whatever. Can we, it just feels like we're repeating ourselves. Can we just keep going?
All right, so G and H, motion is passed first reading. We did that. Pass first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for both.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy-Ramboletti.
Yes.
Paluelo.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Put your vote to
Unanimous
approve those. We are next.
We could suspend the rules. I think we're down to 3 committee reports, but we got to do 2 first. 8C, lowercase c, 8F, lowercase f.
Motion to suspend the rules, take up C and F as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? C is 100,000 from free cash to stabilization. F is $1,481,473 to capital stabilization. Motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
I think both of these speak for themselves. We're always asking our mayors to put money into stabilization on an annual basis. This will be the second year in a row that Mayor Garcia has done so and proposed it. Quite frankly, if I was sitting in his seat, I would have put just about all the free cash in stabilization. But then we'd probably be doing a lot of what we did tonight in August. So I guess we got some things out of the way. But to the Finance Committee and to, I think, most of us, this makes sense. We need money in stabilization to do good things down the road.
So motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for C and F.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee, McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve those two. 8U.
Final one, 8.
Wow.
No, we did you, right? I hope.
Yeah, we did you.
No. Oh, no.
No? Oh,
All right, what's 8U?
Motion
Opioid
is
settlement.
take up 8U. This is
Oh, I have it as a different,
settlement
I'm sorry.
stabilization, so it's the opioid.
It's 8U. I'm looking at the wrong one. 8U. Last vote.
All right, so motion is for 8U. This is Command Finance referred to create an opioid settlement stabilization fund. Motion to receive, adopt, pass first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Counselor McGee's order, and I might be someone else too, because it's Counselor McGee and Counselor McGee on this order,
I
but,
wanted to make sure we did it correctly. So we did
okay,
it
so
twice.
we only get one,
C and
one
W.
amount though. Settlement, there was a settlement, an incredible settlement, and I don't know if we have the full dollar figure. It's over $3 million that's coming to the city over the next 15 years. Counselor McGee and the Finance Committee agrees with this, that we use that stabilization fund for the purpose of setting up a number of different things that would allow the city to work with, I guess, BHNs and different entities on the opioid crisis within our city. I think it's not something that the city usually gets involved with, but it makes sense because it's coming from a settlement because of what happened with the pharmaceuticals and everything. And I think we all know the history, but it's a good proposal and the committee agrees with it, and we ask you to consider the same.
Motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the stabilization fund.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. Motion to adjourn. No, just kidding.
I'll second that.
The President,
Oh,
just-
no, you can't because we got to go to your.
Oh, that's true. That's
Mr.
true.
President, I just want to say two things. One, we kept on the table, and I said this earlier, but it's important, the bond for CSO projects down the road. The engineer agreed. We're under a consent decree. We can start getting fined any day now. But he agreed to work with the DEP and to make sure that, you know, we think we're doing the right thing with sewers and going forward. But I can quote Councilor Jordan is, how do you vote on $10 million when the rate doesn't even complement how to pay the $10 million, and you don't need the $10 million for like two years or more down the road? Second, that was a little bit editorial, but I know maybe a little bit out of what's not on the agenda, but it was in committee. Second, thank you to the members of the Finance Committee, but thank you to all city councilors for, I know everybody was paying attention the past couple of weeks, and this is not unprecedented, but the amount of what we just did is unprecedented, and great work, everybody.
Oh, thanks for your leadership, too.
Yes.
you.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm going home.
Okay, we'll see you. Have a good night.
All right, so public safety, nothing. Public service, Councilor Tomlin wants to.
Yes, could I take an item out of the Public Service Committee? Send the rules. I think we need 9 votes. This is Lauren Niles. She is an associate non-voting member, and she was interviewed last year. So it's really not too controversial, and if everybody goes along with me, I'd like to have that passed tonight.
All right, so
Second the motion.
motion removed from committee, which is for planning board, Laura Niles, it would be a 5-year term which will expire July 1st, 2028. Motion is take it from committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Counselor Tomlin.
Yeah, this is, Jeff brought this up to me, our Wizard of Oz, that she had come before us last year and is listed as, Jeff, was it not an associate member? As an alternate, she's actually an associated member of the planning board. And she's not a voting member, but if they're short or quorum, they're going to pull her in to make a vote on that. So I think it's important because sometimes here now we're getting close to the summer and people go on vacation might be short a member, and it'd be good to have her on there for July and August.
So seeing nothing, motion is to confirm the appointment for 5 years. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we will have a meeting, public service next Wednesday night. I believe we have two people they're interviewed for different boards.
Okay. So there was no DGNR, no charter rules, no joint committee. On to motions, orders, resolutions. First one is from Councilor Vacan. Trees at Ashley and Sunset be removed.
Receive, adopt, refer to DPW and the Forester, please.
Motion is receive, adopt, send to DPW/Forester. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? 15, that the petition sent to ordinance for June 6 be transferred to DGNR, which will be taken up July 12th, so the petition can be taken up earlier. Motion receive and adopt, refer to committee.
Yes, and transfer to DGR. It's the petition of Andre Gamble for the special permit for a third-floor dwelling.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 16 from Councilor Vacan, that the city engineer evaluate the area of Sullivan School for a crosswalk.
So if we could receive, adopt, send to the engineer, and refer to public safety, please.
All right, so receive, adopt, send to the engineer and to public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 17 from Councilor Vacan, that a stop sign be placed at the corner Eppermont Highway and McGinnis.
Ordinance.
To ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thanks.
18 from Councilor Bartley, DPW install signage approximate to 33 Edward Drive, alerting motorists.
Receive, adopt, send to DPW.
Receive, adopt, refer to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
I have a question on that one. With regards to that, is there a reason why it doesn't go to public safety?
For signage,
It's just
because
an
it can be put
informational
up,
sign,
yeah.
doesn't
Just to
require
have
an
a
ordinance.
conversation around that particular sign, only because I know that I think in the district of the school district, we're probably like 60 to 70% of students on IEPs. So eventually, if people around the whole community want to, we'll have the sign all over everywhere on every block and every street sign. So to me, it's like having a I'm not against it because actually my daughter's autistic, right? So at the end of the day, it's not a reason whether I'm against it or not. It's just to have a deeper like conversation. Maybe that order can go straight, but like
wanna
I'll
send-
file a separate order to have a
Copy
conversation
it to
around it. My
public
bad.
safety.
We could send a
Why don't we
copy.
receive, adopt, and copy it to
There
public
you go.
safety.
Yeah.
Because if not, I would have filed a separate order just to have a conversation
Yeah.
on how best to handle.
all right, so motion is receive, adopt with a copy to public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 19 is from Councilor Jordan, order that the DPW fix the raised sidewalks on West Franklin Street in Sycamore. Just an FYI, it's already being done.
Hey, what can I say?
was quick. How'd you
You
get
know,
that?
what do you want? You know,
You are pretty good, Kevin. Yeah.
So,
I'm going to say receive, adopt, refer to the DPW and the a copy to the Hoyle Waterworks too, because I think they're involved.
all right, so receive,
it's appreciated.
adopt, send to DPW and water. All those in favor?
Yep.
All opposed?
Thank you.
20 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, DPW install a crosswalk on Cabot at South Summer. Motion be receive and adopt.
Yes, if I really would like to see a crosswalk put at Cabot at South Summer to get over from where Capri is over to the grocery store. That's an extremely
can I be added to
busy
that one?
street there. Oh yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
filed something similar to that about a year ago almost. But yes, can I be added to that one?
Absolutely.
And
Hold on
me
one
as well.
Councilor
second.
Maldonado Velez and
You might want to send that to public safety, too.
So
If they don't do it, I'm going to file it again, but I think they will.
Oh, trust me, I took on a gauntlet last week. We put 40 on there again.
Oh, yeah? Well, you got me on the order now, so you're in good shape. Don't you worry.
Yeah, it'll happen now. We got the big dog, right?
Bringing in the big dogs now.
Yeah.
All right.
Adding Councilor Rivera.
Big country.
Model Velez, do you have a question?
Mr. President, if you wouldn't mind, I actually been to Capri for our pizzas, and I do go to Key Foods probably once a week to get our nice Spanish bread for my wife. So get Abby on to that. I think it'd be a good spot.
Counselor Tom.
Be happy to.
Councilor Model Velez, did you have your hand up or? No? Okay. Yeah.
Please, yep, adding Counselor Jenny Rivera too. Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 21 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, DPW repaint the crosswalk at Clemente and Cabot, so motion
Yes.
receive and adopt.
Beauty is, this one's already there. Just please paint it. You can't see it.
Friendly amendment, all the crosswalks in Holyoke.
But the good news is we're getting a new paint.
Yeah,
We just paid for a new painting truck, so this one should be hopefully in good shape. So receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Councilor Tallman?
Yeah, can I just throw this in there? And I just came recently. I wasn't going to file anything because I know it's sort of late. But on Hampden Street, I know they'll be doing the street over because of waterworks and everything. But a couple constituents up in that area, and I know the street because I've worked up there for 25 years, up by Howard Street and Hampden. If we get a crosswalk after they do the street, and I'll file an order afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's a tough. You can't really cross on Canby or Waldo. You got to go out. So and even Parker Street, you got Arlington Street. You really can't cross because there's not a street on the other side.
Right.
So it seems like Howard and Hampden would be a great spot. But I'll file something later on. I just wanted to make sure I stated that because I figured we had a meeting tonight and they said, well, why don't you just put it through? It's not that easy. You just don't put it through and say it gets done. So, but I will file something for that in the next meeting.
All right, so that one was receive, adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 22 is from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, DPW, replace the 3 park table chairs that were removed from Valley Arena Park. So motion be receive and
Receive,
adopt.
adopt, refer to the DPW parks. Should be nice to have those back. So
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 23 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, that DPW Forestry Division trim the following trees on South Holyoke that are out of control and dangerous, and then they give a listing. So motion to receive, adopt, send to DPW and the forestry.
yes, please.
Can I be added to that one too?
Adding
Yes.
Councilor-
I filed that one too about a year ago too.
Yes, please.
Adding Councilor Rivera and Rivera. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 24 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, that the Building and Codes Board of Health sent a notice to the owners of record of large lots located at 569 South Bridge Street to properly mow their grass. Motion be receive, adopt, send to code enforcement.
Yes. The only thing that was sobering in all of this is I'm looking at the lot and it's directly across from Valley Arena Park and I say, who the hell is doing this? Who would allow their property? And I won't use their name because I do know. But it turns out the city owns half of it, I found out. I went on MapGeo and it turns out the city owns half and then this other person owns half. So I didn't put their name in the order. People can go look it up if they want the parcel ID number. But, you know, time to get, I mean, the grass is 4 foot high. You got car bumpers. You got Lord knows what else in there. And this is outrageous. These things need to be taken care of. And the residents don't deserve to live next to that. So we're going to get that cleaned up ASAP. Thank you.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 25 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puella, DPW Parks Division, please replace the signage in parks in South Holyoke that people need to pick up after their animals. So this would be receive and adopt.
Yes, receive it. Send to the DPW to put the info signs up, please.
Put the signage up by Councilor.
Can I add an amendment if possible?
Sure.
For them to actually add the little receptacle for the poop stuff, the little
You know,
bags.
I was thinking
I have one at
about
Laurel Street Park, so it only makes sense to have one down there too. If we have
I
one.
like the idea. Do they actually? The only reason
I utilize it.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, does the DPW or somebody go around and fill the back? Like, they'll put the
Yes.
initial one, but they'll go actually around and do it?
And they empty the trash barrels.
Beautiful. All right, then, yes, let's add that. The only reason I didn't, because I was saying, is the city really going to keep them full? Because otherwise, what's the
They
point?
do, actually. I thought they didn't, but they do. They filled that one up the other day.
All right,
That
let's
might-
add that as an amendment to add doggy bags too, please, with the sign.
And a friendly amendment to add the dog bag holder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This is receive, adopt, send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 26 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puello, that the DPW repair with patching the sidewalk in front of 582, 586 South Summer Street. Motion be receive, adopt, send to DPW.
Yes, please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 27 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Puello, that the mayor and building department, board of health, law department, please provide the city council with a status report on the demolition of dangerous abandoned building, 27-29 Cabot Street and 510 South Bridge Street. Where do you want this
Can we
one
take
to?
that? Can we take up number 32 with that? It's one that I filed for
32.
27 Cabot Street. So same.
All right, so taking up 32
Oh, yes.
as well. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And 32 is communication be sent to the council with regards to 27 Cabot Street and the cleanup. So, want to receive?
I'd like to receive, adopt, refer these two orders to the mayor, the building department, the board of health, and the law department. And we need a report back within
Can you copy public safety?
max 30 days to the council, because
August.
that's outrageous what's going on there. That's gone on for way too long, so we,
Right, so Councilor Rivera.
I was just gonna add if we can copy it to public safety so I could take it up
sure,
and have a conversation.
copy to public safety too. Yep.
All right, Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I know if we got the report on K, and one of the last items there from our city solicitor said 27, 29 Cabot, 510 South Bridge, that the bid for demolition just went out last week, draft petition for filing and service. So I don't know if, that's going to do anything, but they are aware of it, but still, I did notice that the fence, it's not really fenced in totally. And it does look really bad there.
I don't even, yeah.
You can go, people can go in there and they get seriously hurt, around the side there.
People are going in.
So,
Councilor Malala-Velez.
Thank you, Councilor Tallman, for catching that. But I still definitely want to have the conversation in public safety, because it is a long time that's been down and looks bad and it's not safe. So we need to hustle a little bit when it comes to these kind of things.
All right, so taking up 27 and 32, motion is receive, adopt to the mayor, building department, board of health, law department, copy to public safety.
Yes,
All
please.
those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? 28 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Bacon, that the auditor and if needed, relevant department heads and the mayor please review the free cash certification with finance committee. So receive is sent to finance.
Exactly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 29 from Councilor Malala-Velez, Councilor Anderson Burgos, or that the City Council adopt a resolution of strong support and solidarity for the LGBTQIA plus community, members of the community. So what do you want to do with this one, Councilor?
I would love to take a vote on it tonight. Yes.
So a resolution, do you have a copy of the resolution? Or?
This is just very similar to the order that was filed back in, I believe it's like October, which was one paragraph in support of the police. So I just wanted to do something similar in support of the LGBTQIA plus community, just as a confirmation to the community that as a city council support this community.
All right.
Second the motion.
Second.
to adopt
So
it.
motion is receive and adopt. All those.
Can we do a
Unless you have
roll call for it, please?
That's all, you need three members total.
Second.
All right,
roll call.
so 3 members ask for roll call. So motion to receive, adopt the resolution. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the resolution.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Puello.
No.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Abstain.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 1 nay.
Your vote, you approve
1
that.
abstain.
So 30 is from Councilor Manuel Velez, order that we create an ordinance that if an owner of a rental property does not live in Hoyoke, they are required to hire a local property management company.
Sent to ordinance.
To ordinance, all those in
Second.
favor?
I'd like to be added to that.
Who said that? I'm sorry.
Givner.
I did.
Oh, sorry. Adding Councilor Givner. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. 31 from Councilor Manuel Velez, that if someone is putting in an RFP through the city for property that is up for sale, and the applicant has outstanding issues with Board of Health, Building Department, or other cities having to do with their property they own, that they are not eligible to win the bid. So,
Could we
I'd like to be added to that too.
Could we send this to ordinance and a copy to Office of Community Development just to have Alicia weigh in as to?
all right, so to ordinance.
Can we send it to legal also?
Yes.
Copy to legal, copy to Alicia's. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 33 from Councilor Manuel Velez, Councilor Jenny Rivera. Order that section 38-736 of our ordinance be amended for the hours to read 10 p.m. instead of 11 p.m. and 8 a.m. instead of 7 a.m.
Copy to ordinance.
To ordinance, all those in.
What is that?
So this is a quiet.
It's the noise
hour.
ordinance.
It's a noise
Noise?
ordinance.
Noise.
33 is noise, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Did you
opposed?
skip 32?
We did it. Did it already.
We did?
It got taken up with 27.
With 30.
Ah, sorry.
We didn't skip it. I'm just kidding. 34 from Councilor McGee, or that the Joint Committee of School inviting the receiver to discuss and provide information on the financial literacy program for both high school campuses to the Joint Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 35.
You can make a motion to suspend the rules to take 35, 36, 37, and 41 as a package and refer to the Committee on Finance.
All right.
Second.
So 35, 36, 37, 41 as a package. All those in favor?
Real quick, if I could, these are grants. Each year, the auditor, mayor, they're told we don't meet in July because of the way we do our vacation schedule. We meet in August. Grants, if they have a particular time constraint, department heads are supposed to notify us. I've not been notified, so if no one else has been notified or see any urgency, we'll get them in and out of finance for August.
All right, so 35 is the PSN $20,069 grant. 36 is the support grant for $306,443. 37 is the medical dispatch for $24,500 grant. And 41 is the cleanup funding, or a river cleanup for $210,000, all to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to suspend the rules for 38 to pass the first reading.
Second.
Take up 38, motion to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. This is the Arson Watch Reward Program, 1,000, no match grant. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you. The fire department has received notice that they will be receiving this $1,000 grant from the Arson Watch program itself because, once again, a student of Blessed Sacrament this year has won third place as a state winner in the poster contest. The student, and I hope I got the right name correct, but it's Milla Dillard. And the $1,000 will come in the name of that third place finish. And the fire department will set it up in this for the purpose of buying some supplies and stuff like this. I thought it'd be nice to adopt it this evening, and perhaps we can all file a late file to ask to have maybe August or maybe not to September, depending on their schedule, that the student be brought in to be recognized. And I think the last time they brought the poster in with them.
Yeah, they did.
All right.
They did.
They did.
It's right over here still.
Over here.
I think it's there.
Well, now we might have two posters.
We have two over there, so there'll be a third.
Okay.
So motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the 1,000.
Maldonado Velez.
Yes. Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Coelho.
Yes.
Israel Rivera.
Yes.
Jenny Rivera.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Givner.
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
We vote you approve that one. 42 from Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti, or that the council, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, declare 118 Newton Street as surplus to DGR.
please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 43 from Councilor Murphy-Ramboletti, order that we declare 138 Cabot Street surplus to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 44 from Councilor Puello, that the police department please provide an update on all traffic citation issues issued since January 2023.
Receive, adopt, public safety, please.
Receive,
That
adopt.
one too, please.
What, Councilor Vacan said add on?
Yes, please.
Okay. Adding Councilor Vacan.
Can I be added on to that?
Adding Councilor
Yeah, add me on too. Why not?
Jordan, Councilor Rivera. And this is receive, adopt, send to HPD as well as public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay,
No.
let's go.
Late files, bro.
Not recognized. We only have a mere 40. I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding. All right.
Done in no
B,
time.
Councilor Jenny Rivera, that the city review and recommend 3 four-way stop signs at the following locations, and there's a list of locations. So that would be to receive, send to public safety, and then to the engineer. All those in favor?
Aye.
C is from Councilor McGivern. This is $20,150 grant for the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency.
Finance.
Finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
D from Councilor McGivern, Councilor Tallman, Councilor Vacan, that the city council adjust the sewer rate ordinance. That'd be to ordinance.
Late filed is Councilor McGivern's fault, not Councilor Vacan and Tallman.
So to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Will not point fingers.
Thanks for taking the blame,
Councilor
Joe.
McGivern. No, just
Oh,
kidding.
it's my fault?
Order, this is from Councilor Israel Rivera, the order that the city engineer to install 2 raised crosswalks. So this would, you want,
On Samoset Street. I should say.
yeah, but we have to go to ordinance. We can just receive and adopt those, right? Or
Well, we're going to need funding, but I would say we would send it to the mayor and the DPW.
And the engineer.
And the mayor.
how about
the DPW.
receive, refer to the mayor, DPW engineer. And do you want to go to public safety with us, get a report back?
Sure, we could do that. So I get a report back in like September about where we are with funding.
Okay. All those,
And can you add me as
Yeah,
a
can you add
co-sponsor?
that?
hold on, adding Councilor Jordan.
I think the citizens are working on putting some more signatures together. On
Yeah,
the
they
petition.
came forward a bunch of signatures, and I'm not fully guaranteed that they're all from people that live on that same street. So I figured the best process would be to do the raised crosswalks, so they don't have to worry about getting the rest of the signatures. If that doesn't work, then I will go back with them to go get the signatures that need to be gotten.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
The speed
Okay.
bumps work better, though.
This is updates on properties, housing court receivership / code
Receive.
violations. Motion is to receive.
Maybe send a copy to finance. Might not be a bad, or
DGNR?
DGNR.
DGNR, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's we'd sent it
Okay.
before.
All those in favor?
Finance is in hibernation.
Yeah.
L is street vendor license application.
Good ordinance?
So to ordinance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? M, from Councilor Jordan, DPW, please remove some of the tree branches on Route 5 south of the crosswalk at Main. So receive, adopt.
send to DPW.
So
Motion
the
to
DPW.
take
a
rules to
final
take a
action.
final action on this item.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Receive, adopt, send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? N from Councilor Jordan, DPW, please remove the shrub at the traffic island at an intersection of Route 5 and Ingleside Street. So it's affecting visibility. So
Suspend the rules, take a final action.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to
All
adopt,
opposed?
send to the
Motion to
DPW.
receive, adopt, send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? O from Councilor Jordan.
I didn't see these.
Not arrow, not backslash, just O. DPW, please repair the very dangerous pothole at Route 5. So motion be receive and take up final action. All those in favor?
Aye.
Receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Receive, adopt, send to DPW. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Somebody's been doing some work out there. Somebody's been on the streets here. Is it an election year or what?
I have a question, right?
Last meeting before the break.
Hold on. Counselor Tallman first.
Go ahead.
All set?
Oh, I'm all set. I just said, no, I'm good.
All right, Counselor.
No,
Rivera.
so mine it kind of coincides. Is like, so since we're doing like the potholes and stuff, can I file an order for like Kmart Plaza to fix their potholes too?
Well,
Of course you can. You can call them.
Right, private property.
Private property, though. You got to get the.
But I can file the order though, right?
Well, you can file an order.
All right.
Public property.
I'll file the
Sure.
order. Thank you.
Counselor Malavalez.
Oh no, I was just gonna like piggy off Mr. Tallman's comment because he's not running again, but I am, and it's fun. It's fun. I'll tell you.
Anyone?
You better watch out. I might pull a Tom Brady, so be careful.
Whoa! There's more late files than there were finance committee reports.
Oh, you're right.
Close.
Is that it?
Close. With that, I think we're
Motion
caught up.
to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn.
Second.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We stand
That's not so
adjourned.
bad by our old standards. 1 o'clock.